All right, it's now 5:35. Before we call the meeting to order, Mayor McNamara is here, and I was going to let him have a couple minutes at the podium. And Mayor McNamara, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to be with you. I want to first say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Secondly, thank you so much for the service that you provide. Third, I am a very proud Rockford Public School parent. And fourth, I just want to say whatever you did this year with your summer camps, they're spot on. My children are loving them, and I'm hearing that from so many other Rockfordians. So thank you for the work that you do. I wasn't just here, Dr. Jarrett, to do that. I just want to say sincerely thank you. Thank you for your incredible and often thankless service to our community. You have dedicated more than 15 years to transforming the Rockford Public School District. Prior to you, we had 11 superintendents in 14 years. Since becoming superintendent in 2012, you have led this district through significant academic, financial, and infrastructure improvements while championing the opportunity for all students. Under your leadership, Rockford Public Schools have launched a $250 million facilities plan that modernized schools across our city, expanded access to high-quality learning environments, and improved conditions for students and staff. You have built 2 new state-of-the-art schools. Our graduation rates and our reading rates have improved under your leadership. Dr. Jarrett, you have been a key driver to establishing the Rockford Promise program that we know of today. Because of your efforts, we are now opening the door to tuition-free college opportunities for literally hundreds of local graduates and creating life-changing pathways for our families. Beyond academics, Dr. Jarrett has strengthened partnerships between schools, businesses, and community organizations while maintaining strong fiscal stewardship that helps stabilize the district and support broader economic growth here in Rockford. Your leadership has focused not only on student success today, but on preparing the next generation of educators, workforce leaders, and engaged citizens for the future. Through your vision, service, and commitment to the children and families of Rockford, Dr. Jarrett, you have made a lasting impact on our city. We also have teamed up on a couple of things, one of which was property taxes. When we joined forces, you knew I couldn't be here and not mention this. When we joined forces in 2017, our community's overall property tax rate was 15.3%. Today, it is under 9% for the first time in more than 2 decades. Personally, we have spoken a minimum of once per week since 2017, often far more frequently. Sorry about that. We have gone through major challenges from COVID to violence. One thing I will say I have always appreciated, and I think is often lost, especially in today's public leaders, is that we have not always agreed, but we never questioned each other's values, each other's integrity, or each other's character. We not once made those differences a public spectacle. Our differences never got in the way of the next item we needed to do to improve the lives of students or the residents of our community. I have always appreciated your ideas, your willingness to get to a yes, your friendship, and your support. I sincerely want to say thank you. You have probably the hardest job in the city of Rockford. No pressure to Larry. But you have done this job well, and you've done it with grace. I also want to thank your amazing wife, Christy. I know firsthand how incredibly important it is to have a strong partner that allows you to do this work. She has given up a tremendous amount so that you can dedicate yourself to students, to families, to teachers, to staff, and the community, and I just want to say sincerely thank you. Dr. Jarrett, I get to do really amazing things as mayor of the city of Rockford. Probably the most amazing thing I get to do is provide the biggest honor. Am I allowed to go beyond this point? Sorry. But I want to provide you a key to the city of Rockford and just say sincerely thank you for your service. Again, I would just close and say thank you so much, Dr. Jarrett. Thank you, Christy, for all of your dedication to our community, and thank you to each of you for the work that you do every day. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Dr. Jarrett, for all you've done, as the mayor stated. I'll now call this meeting to order, this meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order at 5:41 p.m. Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Ms. Chavez?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll now take a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we start each meeting, it's important to remember that the mission of the Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable, first-class education for a changing world. Before we go any further, we'd like to thank Kim Pedersen and Aaron Hill, who worked behind the scenes to produce the broadcast for this meeting. We're now on to the regular portion of the meeting. Item agenda 2A is the meeting minutes from May 5th, 2026. Are there any changes, corrections, or additions to those meeting minutes? If not, they will be accepted as submitted. Thank you. Now moving on to item agenda 3A, which is the Stakeholders Committee, and I believe that will be led by Ms. Haley.
Good evening. It's now time for the Stakeholders Committee portion of the meeting tonight. Let's start by showing our 12-month agenda and our feature presentations tonight. In our feature presentations tonight, we will have the social. Oh, I'm sorry, cancel that. Next, we'll move on to the board calendar. We want to remind board members of the opportunities available to interact with our students, families, and community each month. Please make sure to check the board calendar on rps205.com on a regular basis for the most up-to-date information. Now let's look at all the good things that are happening in our district. 10 Auburn High School students graduated from EMR training through Superior Ambulance. They completed this during their lunch period. This program builds career pathways, earns real credentials, and it helps grow the next generation of emergency responders in our community. Next, Whitehead Elementary students received 1,664 books from Nana's Books Foundation. The donation supported 667 students, classrooms, and the library. This is expanding access to books on Alzheimer's, dementia, and disabilities. Next, 2 RPS seniors, Michael Santos Antonio from East High School and Hannah King from Guilford High School, were awarded with $10,000 scholarships from the Troy Keep Foundation. The foundation supports science careers and pancreatic cancer research. Congratulations to these amazing students. Creativity and flavor were on full display. Service Academy nutrition students showcased final projects at the quad. After a month of planning, they created and served themed three-course menus highlighting 3 years of culinary skills while applying new nutrition knowledge. STEAM Academy at Haskell has received recognition from PLTW as a 2025-26 Distinguished School. This recognizes schools across the United States for their efforts to provide broad access to transformative learning experiences for students through an elementary STEM curriculum. Congratulations. Next, we have Guilford High School honored 9 seniors at a military signing night as they committed to serve after graduation. Students signed on to the Army, the Marines, with one also accepted into the Coast Guard Academy. Thank you for your dedication and service. Students at Gregory Elementary explored future careers during Career Day. Professionals from fields including healthcare, aviation, public safety, culinary arts, technology, wildlife conservation, and entertainment shared their experiences and inspired students to dream big. Next, the quad hosted its inaugural Grad Walk, celebrating graduating seniors as they took one final walk through the halls. Students were cheered on by staff, peers, and supporters while reflecting on their hard work and bright futures ahead. Congratulations, class of 2026. On the seniors' last day of school, Guilford seniors celebrated their upcoming graduation with cap and gown and a side of sprinkles. Students enjoyed a donut party. Paraded through Guilford High Schools, then visited nearby elementary and middle schools to inspire younger students in their caps and gowns. Innovation and creativity were on display at Haskell's 5th grade Maker Expo. Students worked in teams to research, plan, and build carnival-style capstone projects using the engineering design process. They shared lessons, learned, challenges faced, and real-world connections. Our student ambassadors are leading the way. Last month, through student-led tours with RPS 205 administration, middle schoolers at Flynn, West, Eisenhower, Lincoln, Risa, and Marshall built leadership, confidence, and community. This program is shaping tomorrow's leaders today. Next, we have Risa wrapping up their Teacher Appreciation Week with an unforgettable staff versus student flag football game at the Clarence Hicks Sports Complex. From the cheers in the stands to the teamwork on the field day, the day was filled with school spirit, laughter, and connection. More than anything, it felt like a true community among staff and students, celebrating together, supporting one another, and creating memories that will last for years to come. A special thank you to Rockford Park District for partnering with us and allowing us to use their field for this amazing event. We are grateful for the support in helping making this day possible. Thank you to Alignment Rockford for also helping support this event. Next, sophomores in the Production Academy's engineering pathway and Haskell STEAM students raced handmade cardboard canoes at Levings Lake. They designed, engineered, and built their boats using only cardboard and duct tape, then competed to see which one was the fastest and stayed afloat. Marshall Elementary School celebrated school-wide Inquiry Week by sparking curiosity, creativity, and collaboration across classrooms. Students explored topics they were passionate about, worked with peers across grade levels, and engaged in hands-on learning experiences. Next, we want to congratulate Guilford High School's Nutrition Services staff member, Daisy Powell, for receiving Ask Me Never Quit Service Award. Her compassion and dedication goes far beyond serving meals. Field Day took place at elementary schools across RPS 205. Marshall Elementary students had a blast with sleds, water, inflatable horses, and a live petting zoo, and much more. Big thanks to our awesome teachers and volunteers for making it a day full of smiles. Next up is items of note with our community partners. Ellis and Lewis Elementary School students joined the Rockford Police Department for an Earth Day cleanup at Rockford Ridge. This year's theme of Our Power, Our Planet emphasizes grassroots organizing, local solutions, and accountability to protect environmental standards. Next, Washington Elementary students and staff brought the energy to wrap up the Earth Day citywide cleanup. 530 young volunteers spread out around their school, picking up trash and showing up for their community in a big way. They were the largest group to sign up this year with United Way. Risa Middle School hosted its third annual Junior Promise celebration with Rockford Promise. Students in grades 6 through 8 were honored for earning a 3.0 or higher grade point average and were encouraged to pursue future opportunities in high school. Rockford University President Dr. Patricia Lynott was the keynote speaker. Tooth decay is the second leading cause of students missing school, and 1 in 7 children miss class due to dental pain. This summer, 205 DDS is helping RPS students access free dental care at the Quad. Medicaid is required. Call 815-420-8055 to make an appointment or visit 205dds.org. Next on our 205 Vibe, students across RPS 205 were honored for their creativity in celebrating America's 250th anniversary. Mayor Tom McNamara and County Board Chairman Joe Chiarelli visited schools to recognize essay and visual art contest winners with certificates and $100 gift cards. Read more on the 205 Vibe. And now it's time for our legislative news. Congressman Eric Sorensen visited West Middle School. He spoke to 7th grade students about his position in the Capitol and answered questions. He was then taken on a tour of the school led by the students. Next, we have our internal and external news. Our Family and Community Engagement Department hosted its annual volunteer celebration. Volunteers and community partners were honored for supporting students and staff at our school. In April, BPAC held its multicultural fair at the Quad. Families enjoyed a fun-filled day with food trucks, live entertainment, a multicultural parade by students, community vendors, and so much more. We celebrated 80 amazing students at Prairie Street Brew House. With support from our PS 205 leaders, families, and cooperating teachers, these future educators connected with administration and gained insight into hiring and the road ahead. Next, RPS held a celebration at Ma Na TC Country Club for its retirees from this past school year. Thank you for your dedication, your passion, and the impact on the students. We wish you the best in your next chapter. RPS is holding a district-wide job fair for all positions on Wednesday, June 24th from 9 to noon at East High School. If you feel the need to help shape a child's future and make an impact, start your journey and join us. Do any of our board members have anything to share regarding any school events you've attended or any interactions you've had in the community? Ms. Pearson.
Thank you. Well, we concluded our 5th Ward walk. We opened it to other wards, but of course I am always in the ear of our parents, so that was good to connect with parents and constituents in our city where it relates to the academic success of our students through attendance. And so that is my report for community engagement. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Stanford.
I just want to say congratulations to all of our graduates from the weekend ceremonies. I was honored to be able to attend all 5 graduations and listen to the students and their speeches and seeing how proud they were. And it's just a great time of year. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to.
Ms. Pearson.
Yes, I want to acknowledge the team at Auburn High School for making room for our students that didn't make it to see graduation. Auburn for sure went above and beyond to accommodate our families, and that is very much appreciated. That is something that families will never forget, and the opportunities of the space that they were provided to recognize their loved ones. So to Mr. Ronniker, Mr. Lazar, and the entire team that worked with the families is very much appreciated. And I ask that you continue to pray for the safety of our students and their health. Thank you.
Mr. Carpenter.
Just following up on the graduations for a minute, I was also honored to be at most of the graduations, and it was, I was thinking that those graduations take a lot of work, and the people that put those on don't get recognized enough, I think, and it starts with the principals and their teams, but Dr. Gallagher also worked hard on it, and I know others in central administration here worked hard on making sure it gets off without a hitch. The staff at BMO works hard to make sure that we have a safe and comfortable place for our graduations, and we appreciate that. There's a lot of cooperation from people with the city of Rockford, and we appreciate that. And I know there's also a lot of other district operations and staff. In particular, I know Fred Deal works very hard to make sure that we have a safe and secure setting for our graduation. So I want to thank all of our people that helped put that together and make a great ceremony for our graduates.
Ms. Bennett.
So echoing what everybody else said, but to just add on to what Mr. Carpenter said, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the Jefferson Comms team recorded and did all the live feed of graduations. Okay, Dr. Jared's shaking his head, yes. So I think there was a team between 3 to 5 students and their professor that attended every graduation, did all of the AV work for the graduation. So their principal I saw posted online, so that was very exciting to know. So great job to all of them. And that commitment from students to do that, that's awesome.
Ms. McCall.
I'm sorry, thank you. Again, like everyone said, I was able to attend all of the graduation as well as some 8th grade graduations. It was a great, wonderful time of the year. The participation from the parents and the students and everybody involved just makes everything worthwhile. Again, it was just beautiful to see the excitement and everything. So I want to thank everybody again. Now that school's out, we need to, be mindful that we have more students that are out in the parks, or, make sure we keep an eye out for our students and to make sure they are being safe. And for those that are attending summer school and summer camps, just thank you guys for everybody who's out there working those evenings and working those days as well. That's it. Thank you. Oh, and Dr. Jared, congratulations on your tenure here, and thank you for all of the positive things that you've done for RPS 205.
Anyone else? If not, I do want to say that I was very proud to see the board representation at all of the graduations. I think that we get to see what we're actually here for. The students are amazing. They had amazing speeches. They have amazing futures ahead of them. And I am proud to be on the board of RPS 205. Ms. Chavez.
Yes, I forgot one thing. I wanted to congratulate the Guilford's boys volleyball team who won against Boylan last week. And they, I know, it hurts a little bit, but go Guilford, who advanced forward to regionals. So congratulations to them. It was a really great game.
Thank you. Oh,
I got one other
Ms.
thing.
McCall.
I apologize. I can't remember which school it was, but there were other schools that recognized the students that were not able to make it or to the graduation who had representation in their honor. So it wasn't just Auburn; it was other schools. So again, that was a very meaningful time for those families, and it was just good to know that the schools and the principals and things, showed their appreciation for our students who lost their lives over the year. So thank you.
If that's all, that concludes our Stakeholders Committee presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haley. We'll now moving on to item agenda 4, which is the Performance and Monitoring Committee, and that will be led by Ms. Bennett.
Hello, good evening. It's very bright out, so it feels weird to say good evening, but okay, so we are excited to welcome Ellis Elementary School for our Committee of the Whole meeting. We want to welcome Principal Lamb. And are there any staff? I know it's summer, but are there any staff from Ellis? Hello, can you stand for us, please? Thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Okay, am I using this mic here? All right. Hello, everybody. Brian Lamb, principal at Ellis Elementary. I should say proud principal of Ellis Elementary. It's the first time I've been in front of the board in this way. So just to give you a little background about myself, it's my 4th year at Ellis, 2nd year as principal. Also proud graduate of Rockford, Auburn, just about 30-some years ago. But yes, Auburn grad and born and raised in Rockford. To give you a little bit of a update on our school, it's kind of an interesting time of year, seeing that we just finished the school year and we're kind of looking back on the end of the school year, what you'll see in these slides, but we are already making preparations for next school year. Just had time to meet with our school improvement teams last week. Already, it's actually in your documents tonight, approving the SIP goals for next school year. So we are already planning for next year's students. Little background on Ellis. This last school year, we finished with around 480 students. As you guys are well aware, our low income percentage is very high for our school, at 93%. Chronic absenteeism continues to be a large issue for not just Ellis, but a lot of students on our side of town. So we are battling that every day on making sure kids are in school on time, coming on at a regular attendance rate. Mobility is another challenge that's listed there. All this data came from our school report card. So 30% mobility rate is really high. Thinking about percentages, and almost a third of your students are in and out throughout the school year, which poses another challenge for us. We do have a small population of English language learners, a lot of Spanish speaking and Swahili speaking students. Probably around 50 to 60 kids is where we've been sitting with that. Students with IEPs, that percentage is very inflated based on the state percentages at 23.3%. There's a variety of factors for that, but we do have a very high student population with IEPs. And then this last school year, we had 5 self-contained ED classrooms. Moving into next year, we will have 7 global programs at Ellis, 4 ED and 4 ED and 3 autism classrooms. So we're making preparations for that as well. On the right side, just a little bit of breakdown of our demographics. I did want to address the redacted part there with our white students. Not sure why the school report card has it listed that way, but usually when it's redacted, that means there's not enough students for that subgroup, which is not true. Ellis, you need at least 10 kids for a subgroup. Ellis has roughly 60 white students in our building. So just to give you a little background on that, it's not as, the way that it's presented there. A little bit of a talk about where we're at with our state status. As you guys probably know, just when you get comfortable with the state report card, the state changes it. So what you're looking at here is going to be quite a bit different next year based on the way that the proficiency levels are with the state. But the good news with it, as we highlighted there in yellow, 0.48 points away from moving out of that intensive rating this last year. So we were like as thin of a line as you could get by not making it out of that intensive status. But our projections coming into this next school year are that we will be moving out of that status. Talked a little bit there on that screen about proficiency and growth, two different ways that we measure things on the school report card. You know, proficiencies on students that are getting that 3 and 4 on the IAR with their reading and math scores, but also we spend a lot of time looking at their growth, and that's really what we spend the majority of the time with our Ellis students, is really focusing on how far they've gone from point A to point B. Usually you're really looking at our students that have a baseline set of IAR data, which would be your 4th and 5th graders, seeing that third grade is the first year that they take that assessment. So we really build on that and try to make as many gains as we can and help our students grow. So just a few columns here about what we're doing and some successes and challenges we experienced at Ellis. What I'm most proud of as principal is the flex grouping that we have done. We really started that before I got to Ellis with our Reading Horizons curriculum. And what that entails is really taking where students are at and getting them into an ability group that they can learn the best at. So the Reading Horizons, as you guys know, is the phonics program, but we started this year to really expand that into our math programming as well. So not only does it help the students, but it helps the teachers plan better and help meet students where they're at. So flex grouping is going on. Protecting Tier 1 instructional time, what I mean by that is really trying hard to keep our students in the classroom during that Tier 1 instruction for CKLA, for iReady, and not pulling them out for SEL groups or pulling them out for special education groupings, pulling them out for mentoring, any other things we can kind of control to keep kids in the classroom that Tier 1 time, and then really having them move into their flex grouping times, you know, that are set, so that way students don't miss on that Tier 1 instruction. We also implemented a pretty strong IAR practice plan this year that was implemented in October, where students were taking real test items every Friday and working through that process to learn the rigor, learn the way to really do well on the test. So that was huge this year. So I'm hoping to see quite a bit of positive results from that. Just like McIntosh and I believe one other school, Washington, I think, is a partnership as well. We partnered with Rockford Park District. Thanks to Greg for helping with that and helping us fund that and giving us the flexibility to do such things. But really what we've done is a little bit different from McIntosh. We really partnered with them for lunch recess only. And what that's done is given us consistent adults in those roles, and then also finding somebody that's going to help plan that activities and things outside to keep our kids safe. And then the last part there of what we're doing, implementing CHAMPS, explicit instruction training, both of those come from Safe and Civil Schools. We also use Keys to Literacy, which was our learning partner through our 1003A funding, and then the SLD project as well. So through all that, on that first column, the successes you see there, that annual ISB weighted index score continues to go up. Back in 2023, it was at 22.17, and then finishing the 25 school year, we're at 38.23. Remember I had mentioned that we were about 40.4 points away from getting that 39 was like the cutoff to move out of that intensive score. So we were right there. So we are on the rise, which is great to see for our students. Something else we focused on, we brought back the parent liaison role to help with that type of communication with parents, connection with families. And then overall, we've increased instructional time after that lunch and recess due to that partnership with the Park District. CHAMPS has been a huge success with like laying the groundwork for expectations and everything that we do in the classrooms. And then, of course, like I said, the IAR proficiency and growth is increasing. And then consistent staffing. I did have a note here, just I was thinking back of the hiring that I've had to do this summer. At this point, we had to hire a kindergarten teacher who left for another EC building. And then due to the global programming changes, we had in special education, we had some shifting around there. I am still looking for a teacher for the autism program, but to only have to really focus on, at this point, 2 staffing positions, I think says a lot about Ellis and a lot about the culture and climate that's been built there, that staff want to stay and work for our school. And then challenges there in that last column, I mentioned student mobility earlier. That's going to continue to be an issue for Ellis, just based on the housing that we have in our area of our school, and students, things going on in their families. The chronic absenteeism went down to 51% this year, which I believe we were closer to like 65 the year prior. So we are making gains, but it is still an uphill battle. And then I just wanted to mention the new kindergartner student needs that come in. I've taken some stats here because we also just got our early childhood profile sheets. So we have 68 students coming to us next year from our EC centers, just to give you kind of an idea. Typically, we have about 18 to 25 students that will come in to Ellis that we have no idea about, meaning they weren't at an early childhood center at Ellis. We don't have data on them. We don't know their academic or social needs. So I believe that 18 to 25 presents us a little bit of a challenge because we don't know what we're going to have to be prepared for. Also, when the kids come in socially, there's a lot of different needs that happen. And then obviously we've also talked about toileting issues going on and needs going in that direction with kindergartners coming in that aren't ready, perfectly potty trained. So that does pose some challenges. And then just closing thoughts there in those 3 little paragraphs, just talking about how we've really, when I wrote this was before we had our SIP planning. So we've already begun what's talked about in that first paragraph by planning for next school year, coming up with some more initiatives for our writing programming. It was a big focus of our time this last week at Jefferson. Spring assessment window closed. We always do 3 rounds of data meetings. So this last round of data meetings really focused on kind of like a handoff between kindergartners going to first grade, those first grade teachers getting a chance to hear about that data, and then all the way down the line, some articulation going on, which is nice for those new teachers to have an idea what they're receiving. And then the last part, just remaining committed to improving student attendance is a big thing at Ellis. That's our goal 3 in our SIP plan. Trying to be more proactive in implementing strategies to support families and encourage consistent attendance at Ellis. I believe that's my last slide, so open it up to questions.
Great job. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions, or what questions does anybody have? Or feedback, thoughts? Ms. Pearson. Mr. Carpenter.
Thanks. Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you all for being here today. Can you explain how the point about the increased instructional time?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Are you talking tier 1 instruction, or are you talking about flex grouping?
Because of the lunch and recess help.
I just think students coming back a little bit more emotionally regulated. I think that helps quite a bit, having that consistent presence of the Park District partnership and the relationships they've built with those workers. Students are coming back to the classroom in a much better mind frame than they had before, which helps decrease issues coming back into the classroom. So that's what we mean by that, is just a different tone when those kids are coming back from a pretty energetic time of day.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ms. Pearson.
First of all, thank you and your team for all that you do. I just have a question about the students that are not potty trained. Mm-hmm. So how are you meeting those needs, and what does it look like with communication with families? Is that one of the goals? How much time does it take from staff to deal with? I thought that things had changed. I remember getting a call a couple of years ago, so I thought the guidelines have changed. So has the percentage decreased over the last year or 2?
I think the percentage has pretty much stayed similar. I mean, I'm thinking that there's about we're talking out of a kindergarten of about 87, 90 students, probably about 10 students. And that's been the kind of that way since I've been at Ellis in the last 4 years, where over time we work with the students on that, but typically that's a need that's met during preschool and kids are coming in, you know, toileting and ready for that. So it poses challenges for the classroom teacher. 3 of the 4 classrooms in kindergarten have bathrooms inside the room, which does help with that need, getting somewhere quickly. But kids that are having accidents or just aren't knowing about when's the time to go. Changing clothes, depending on the need of the student, could be going down to the nurse to get cleaned up. So yeah, it just depends on the kid and the need. But I would say over the year's time, it does improve, but it poses a challenge beginning of the school year for sure, the first few months.
So the teachers and the nurse is
right
responsible for the cleanup.
Right, or potentially if there's a para, if the student has special needs and there's a para involved, sometimes the para will help. But generally we're talking students that, yeah, would be either the teacher would help provide that space to get, you know, changed or go down to the nurse to help with that.
So outside of the students with special needs, what is your percentage?
Of students that are not potty trained?
Correct.
I don't have an exact number. I'd say out of that 10, yeah, out of those 10 kids, probably half of that, 5 or so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And my next question, the last time I visited Ellis, there was a calm room.
Yes.
How is that going?
Yeah, we still utilize that calm classroom. So on the general education side, so like on the ED side of the building, we have a reset room that's similar, but a little bit more just for that global program. But I think the program you're talking about is more for kind of a reset of emotional type needs. Sometimes kids are assigned there for a day based on behaviors that took place the day before. We try really hard to use restorative practices. Sometimes it's a circle between that calm classroom teacher and the student. Sometimes we also bring in the teachers that may have been involved in that situation in particular with the student. So it could be student-student type restorative circle, or it could be, you know, adult and student. But yes, that is still running. I'd say on a normal day, there's probably 5 to 7 students assigned there in that classroom.
Okay.
Of all ages, that's from kindergarten to 5th, depending on age. The kindergarten and first graders obviously have a little bit lower attention span to be in there all day, but depending on need, yeah, the kids are assigned there.
Okay, and the absenteeism rate at 51%, are all of the students there walkers, or what are your percentage that get bused?
They're not, I don't have an exact number of how many are walkers and bus. I can tell you in the morning we drop off about 6 bus loads of students, and on the way home there's 7. So the majority of our kids come on transportation from our district. But there are maybe about 100 or so that are pickups or walkers. Not as many walk that you know, in that neighborhood area, but more on the busing side. So that does pose a challenge, you know, as you guys know about bus cancellations and things too. I think that does impact that number a little bit, but I personally don't feel like that's all of the issue that we have with attendance is just the busing. It's just more of creating good habits and, you know, having our kids want to come to school.
Okay,
I think that's the best way to change it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? I have 2, if nobody else has any. Nope. Okay. So for your, when you talk about park districts, so having more structured time at recess and then implementation of CHAMPS, do you feel you've seen a reduction in behavior referrals or different behaviors with a combination of those 2 this year?
Yeah, I really feel like at the recess lunchtime, we were having a hard time staffing consistent adults or finding enough applicants for those positions. And getting consistency with them coming to work, and what the park district part has really helped with is them bringing in a consistent group of people that know. So what we did was we attached 1 adult to each grade level class. So the thought is that 1 adult would stay with the 3rd grade teacher kids for lunch and sit with them at lunch and go out with them at recess to create that kind of bond, and that you would know the kids and be a consistent presence. So I feel like just having that alone has reduced. Yeah, we still have issues at recess. Those are going to pop up, but they're not carrying over as much into the classroom was the goal, and to have somebody consistently there. Champs-wise, the champs that is more of just laying out those expectations in the classroom before you do any activity. So the Park District doesn't really use that type of wording necessarily, but in the hallways they may, with a certain level of voice. But in the classroom, I think that's helped with just routines and expectations. And here's what I expect you to be doing, or here's how you get help throughout the lesson. Here's the voice level that I should be at. It just lays out that. It makes it more predictable for kids.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then my last question is regarding your kindergarten students. So as Ms. Pearson, kind of her line of questioning as well, do you have any plans? Dr. Jarrett and I have talked about this the past few years for schools, but specifically regarding the concern of children not being potty trained or never having exposure to any educational program before entering our schools. So any kind of back to school event or something that's, a week or so in advance, so expectations can be discussed with parents and guardians, and kind of as much notice as we can provide people of kind of what the expectations are, what children are going to be asked to do, and they can, whatever amount of support we can provide families as soon as not the first day of school, but in advance.
So Ellis does not have something formally like a week before type boot camp, so to speak, I think is what you're talking about. I have done that in another building before. But what is happening a lot faster, it seems like this year, is like I mentioned, those 68 early childhood students in the past, we're notified with a nice profile sheet about who was coming and their needs, where the teacher would rate those. We have kids coming from Summerdale, Bayer, a couple from Roosevelt, and so on. But what's nice is it seems like we're having those in a much more organized way this year. So we know about those students that are coming. Those students that were in a early childhood center in RPS, we have them built into a Seesaw messaging group already that the district has helped set up, and that's new. So our plan is with that is to send messaging out that way. I know it's not the same as an in-person thing, but it's at least an expectations, and here's what you can expect coming to Ellis. So we're going to try that, but we do an open house, but that's pretty much the day before school. So we're going to try to get in front of that with some of the messaging on here's what you can expect on, we'll touch on toileting, but like about lunch and breakfast and what it's like to ride the school bus, and having the stamina to go to school all day is a big change for many kids. So just being prepared that way.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Ms. Haley.
I just have a quick question, and I might have missed this. With the partnership you have with RP, Rockford Park District, are they there every day?
Yes.
Okay.
We have, I want to say I should know the exact number, about 8 adults that come every day. And they have like a lead that's kind of like their contact. I mean, they obviously follow direction from myself and the other administrators, but we work with Ms. Price there, Ms. Ford, and we meet with her every 2 weeks to kind of touch base. She comes in and meets with them. So it's a nice partnership, but it's the same. The goal is to have the same staff members there every time. There has been some turnover for various reasons, but yeah, it's been a consistent group that's been there.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to also forewarning. My script is a little bit out of order, so everybody have grace and patience for me, please. Okay, letter B, we have donation from GE Aerospace to support the quad. GE Aerospace would like to gift RPS 205 $4,400 to support the quad to purchase tooling for production pathways in FY 27. Any questions about this item? Okay, Moving on, so we have letters A through F, which are standing. Letter G, designation of accrued interest earned, Dr. Brown. In accordance with 23 IAC 100.500, school board can designate interest accruing during the current fiscal year and all interest from prior years to still be interest going in the next fiscal year by approving a resolution by June 30th of each fiscal year. This resolution will allow the district to access interest in the working cash fund and transfer it to other funds as needed with board approval. Any questions for Dr. Brown? Ms. Pearson.
Do we even have any available funds to transfer?
We'll have the current year interest available to transfer. So everything that we're earning in the current year, and that is the reason that we do this, so we can move it around if we do need to. Otherwise, it gets locked into the working cash fund.
Thank you.
Okay, letter H, various rental venues for FY27, blanket approval amount, district facility rental contracts for the Rockford Park District, Northern Illinois University, Rock Valley College, and Rockford University for the fiscal year would require board approval since the total vendor amount of contracts would exceed the $35,000 threshold. Any questions about letter H?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson.
So, one moment. Diligent haven't been very friendly. So, in regards to, I just want to, let me speak on the Park District, because it seemed like the Park District does a lot in our schools. Are they having to rent space that they desire to use?
Yeah, it does depend on what it is. There are times when they pay for things and times when we pay for things in their facilities as well. And then there's times where we're able to use each other's at no cost.
Okay, is it a good balance?
I think it's a pretty good balance. We probably end up a little bit on the low end of that as far as usage goes, but it's generally, I think, pretty well balanced.
When you get an opportunity, can you send me some additional information, or
Sure.
we can talk offline about it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, letter I, resolution authorizing depositories, investment managers, dealers, and brokers for FY27. The district is required to submit for review and approval to the board no less than annually a list of authorized depositories, investment managers, dealers, and brokers. Any questions for letter I? Ms. Pearson.
Yes, so can you, Mr. Brown, talk a little bit about the pros and cons where it relates to depositories?
So this is a requirement from the state every year that we bring the list of institutions forward that we are hoping to do business with again this year. And so it's really just so the board knows who we're actually have the ability to do business with and who we're actually doing business with. And so that's why it's an annual, resolution to actually bring this to the board. And so we try and cast the net pretty wide with local institutions. There's some that, specialize in certain things that, like Fifth Third Securities and Stiefel and things like that, where we can only access like brokered CD markets and things like that by having a relationship with those types of vendors.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, letter J, continuous public official bond and payment of premium. Dr. Brown, there's nothing included as an attachment. Did you have anything additional to provide?
We're waiting for one more bid number to come back in on a bond. Since we're switching over who's going to be the treasurer's bond, there's a lot more paperwork that's required than just renewing the bond with an existing treasurer. So we actually have to fill out separate applications for each one of the vendors that we're trying to secure a quote from. So we will have that probably by the end of the week.
Okay, and then can you just be prepared for later in the month in case anybody
Sure.
has questions?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, next is letter K, Consolidated District Plan. You can see attached school improvement plans for all of our schools, which is a ISBE mandate for annual board approved update. Any questions about letter K? Or any of the plans included in letter K?
I do not have any questions tonight, but I will the next board meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a lot embedded.
Yes. Okay, I made a note of that. Okay, next is letter L, per board student activity fund management, per board governing policy 4.90, operational services activity funds. The school board, upon the superintendent or designee's recommendation, establishes student activity funds to be managed by student organizations under the guidance and directions of a staff member for educational, recreational, or cultural purposes. Does anybody have questions about letter L? Letter M, PE waiver approval. The district's currently required to provide daily physical education for K through 5 students. This waiver would create greater flexibility to maximize instructional time in ELA and math while also addressing ongoing space and staffing constraints. Any questions about letter M?
Yes.
Ms. Haley.
So regarding letter M, my concern would be particularly for students in these lower level grades, that without having that consistent daily PE outlet, that there would be more disciplinary issues due to that pent up energy, you know, throughout the day. So that's a concern. So if we are going to move forward with this this recommendation, I would like to, have somebody have a pulse on if there's any increased disciplinary issues regarding changing from not having that PE outlet on a daily basis. Also, there was a waiver of public notice, and the public notice was for May 19th. That was a board meeting, 7 o'clock. Was that even held?
Yes, it was. Dr. Gallagher also at that time gave, I think, like a brief few sentences about the waiver. I know he's not here tonight to answer about it, but also in the executive summary for, hold on one second, sorry. One moment.
While she's checking
Yeah,
that, all students in elementary have to have a mandated activity time every day. So that is still going to happen outside of a waiver to reduce the PE time.
Okay, so that was my next question, actually. What does that mandated daily unstructured playtime look like?
I do not remember the minutes, but it's by minutes. I can have Dr. Gallagher send that to you.
Yes, because based on what we heard from Ellis, for students to have that outlet daily, it improves, how they come back and how they are available to do school.
So this waiver would be for PE, not recess.
Oh.
So recess and PE would be separate things. So
Okay.
the waiver would be to have PE be 1 to 2 times a week. And the additional time that instead of having PE, say those other times of the week, there would be increased time for Tier 1 literacy and mathematics, as well as WIN time. So what I need, targeted interventions for SPED, ESL, and MTSS students. So students who specifically might need more time, either externalizing for regulation or internalizing for regulation. The MTSS students, for example, would be getting interventions in a different way that just wouldn't be PE.
That pretty much answers my question. I was
Okay.
confusing PE and recess.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Well,
Sorry, Ms. Pearson.
So the frequency, okay, so that's the PE part, but the recess time.
Recess was something what I was assuming what Ms. Haley was referring to. Recess is not included in here. Mine was in addition because I was thinking she was mixing the two together.
Okay, so I would be interested in knowing how the recess will work, or they're gonna, and what the increments will look like before.
So there won't be any changes to recess. This specific waiver is only to PE. I interjected recess on my own. Recess is
Okay.
being left alone. Nobody's doing anything with recess.
Okay, I understand that, but on the days that they're not having PE, what would recess look like is what I'm interested in knowing.
So I just pulled up ISB's guidance, and it's kindergarten through 5th grade must be at least 30 minutes of unstructured supervised time, activity time. So supervised
Okay.
unstructured for 30 minutes per day.
So recess.
Yes, recess.
And so what is it now?
That is what it currently is, recess.
Okay,
Yes,
so-
we've been under this mandate for a couple of years.
Okay, so my question is, will schools do any additional recess on the days that there is no physical PE?
I don't have the answer to that. In
Okay.
the executive summary, it did describe putting recess into the specials wheel structure, so
Yes.
that's how they might be doing that. But I can have Dr. Gallagher give some examples of what that might look like.
Okay, so which is the win time?
Correct.
Okay, all
But
right, thank you.
They're trying to make time for those structured intervention periods.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions about that item? Okay. Letter N, subject technologies for Guilford and East. Due to increased usage during the current school year, along with prior investments in refocus, reset, restore classrooms, the total cost now exceeds the purchasing threshold, requiring board approval for expanded implementation at both East and Guilford High School regarding previously purchased subject.com licenses for dual credit recovery and credit acquisition. Any questions about this item? Okay, letter O, optimum behavior from Whitehead. Students at Whitehead Elementary utilize a school-based counselor to support students through individual counseling, flexible small groups, and participation in monthly meetings and committees to help students develop self-regulation skills, manage emotions, and stay focused on learning. Does anybody have a question regarding optimum behavior contract with Whitehead? Okay, moving on to letter P, consolidated contracts for 2026-2027. Consolidating contracts ensure timely delivery of items to our buildings, a thorough understanding of what supplemental resources reside at the school, increased efficiencies in reviewing and processing contracts, and in some instances, discounted rates with vendors. Bulk orders have allowed the district to save funds with this year's purchases. Any questions about letters P, which there are quite a few items included?
Yes, there is.
Ms. Pearson.
So there is, I'm sure, additional information to be reviewed. So when we speak about the consolidated contracts, is this like a set, is it like a universal type of agreement that, so for an example, curriculum, you're not there. Well, curriculum associates is a part of this. You know, I'm going to table this because, again, this one it also is embedded, a lot is embedded. So I'll bring forth my additional questions, and I'll cover it with my one-on-one, and then I'll come back if there's some additional questions.
And there's a lot in this, so to build on what Board Member Pearson is saying, if you have any questions, if anything is a concern as you review these, essentially what we're doing is we're bringing all together to consolidate purchasing power, our grant spending. So that's what we are consolidating. It sounds sometimes a little more complicated than it is, but it's something we've been doing for 8 years now, and we consolidate Title I spending, which is tied to poverty, special education spending, and English language learner dollars. So we're taking those federal dollars that come to us based on need, and our schools that have access to those dollars, instead of you getting them all in little bits and pieces, we build a school improvement plan that integrates those things so it's really seamless, so that way our overall plan to improve student achievement is not separate from these supplemental resources that come to us from the federal government. So if you look at how we support public education in the state of Illinois and in a district like the Rockford Public Schools, a certain percentage of the money comes from local tax dollars. That's about a third of our money nowadays. Dr. Brown could give the exact amount. Then an increasingly the largest share of our dollars come from the state funding, evidence-based funding, and mandated categoricals, which we spent a lot of time talking about. And then this is probably the smallest, but in some of our schools, a pretty substantial chunk of money in terms of special education, English language learner dollars, and it really follows the student from the federal government. It flows through the state of Illinois. And so when we spend all of these dollars, we A, want it to be integrated to the school improvement plan, and B, we want to do it together so it's not trickling into the board in bits and pieces, because we know you have 41 district schools and 3 charter schools to manage. And so we give it to you in one place at one time so that you can see the overall picture. But we know there's a lot to this, so if you have questions, I think the best thing to do would be to email me, and I will get it to the proper principal to follow up if you have questions on why a particular school is making an investment. But this is just our chance so the board can see holistically how we consolidate our spending around school improvement strategy.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, when you bundle them all together with all the schools, we get much better pricing from a particular vendor because they know the volume, rather than just thinking, maybe I'm getting a $10,000 contract over here, a $20,000 one over here. We come to them and say, we have 10 schools that are interested in your services. What kind of pricing can you give us if now we have 10 schools rather than you getting 10 individual orders? And so we actually, to some extent, get Costco pricing. We get that big bundle, you know. We walk out with 25 paper towel rolls instead of, 3 at this school and 2 at that one. So that's my analogy.
So it's like bulk buying.
It is. It's really strategic way to get better pricing using the volume that we can generate from all the schools.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is letter Q, Running Start Intergovernmental Agreement with Rock Valley College. Running Start is a program that allows 11th and 12th graders to obtain their high school diploma and associate's degree concurrently. Does anybody have any questions about letter Q? I have a question. I'm not sure who to answer it, but for the requirements or the contract that is included, we've had a few different SSAC students have feedback about Running Start, and I've also received emails from students, suggestions on Running Start. So one of the suggestions from a student was, oh, hello. One of the concerns that a student brought up was regarding extra support during Running Start, so being able to kind of manage the 2 different entities at one time. Is that something that we're working on in the coming school year?
Yeah, the great thing about Running Start is they actually have access to a college counselor or advisor, and they have access to their high school counselor. So if they're having trouble connecting with their college counselor advisor, that's definitely something we can help with. But our high school counselors are great about keeping in touch with them while they're in Running Start.
Okay, so I know one specific concern was like completing the applications, not missing deadlines for applications, you know, getting the money together for it, completing their FAFSA, all of the documents that one student in particular felt very overwhelmed with that, and that it was kind of maybe not this person's job and also maybe not this person's job, that they kind of got met in the middle thinking both entities were potentially addressing that. So I don't know if that's really granular, but something that's ensuring both are doing it instead of maybe neither.
Yeah, I can definitely pass that feedback along to Rock Valley and ensure our high school counselors are communicating the dates that the Illinois Student Assistance Commission is on our high school campuses offering support for filling out FAFSA and all the other college readiness tools.
Okay, thank you. And then one last item about it was regarding the schedules. So for example, when there's large events that are high school focused but does not coincide with Rock Valley. So finals are happening when prom's happening, or the schedules don't necessarily align. And I know we can't change a whole entire schedule based on a few students' circumstances, but is there any thought or anything to, because we have the calendar 2 years out, for example, now, any thought placed regarding scheduling and things for?
We provide our calendars to Rock Valley, but they're working with, 9 regional school districts. So it's not really been, unless all of our calendars are the same, they can't cater to one individual school district's needs.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Ms. Chavez?
Well, along the same line of what Ms. Bennett was saying, it would be beneficial to our students if the high school counselor and Rock Valley counselor somehow is able to coordinate like academic care, like how you have care coordinators in the healthcare field. Yeah. Having that team is ultimately, and that will alleviate stress of our students if those who they look to be supportive was actually a team. So we could visit that and check into that to see how that can happen for the academic success of our students would be beneficial.
There is a big summit at the beginning of the school year where all the Rock Valley counselors and our counselors get together for that very purpose. So that is already happening.
So the event, is that a meet and greet, or they're assigned, they get the assignment of their students and they?
Both.
Okay.
So it's a meet and greet, and then there are breakout sessions where they can learn more all about the Rock Valley processes, and the Rock Valley advisor learn about ours.
Okay, so in the individual student needs, how, since you said they're already doing that, so what does that look like?
I mean, to be honest with you, there are 2 advisors for all of the Running Start students in all 9 school districts. So
that makes a difference.
Yeah, so it makes it difficult. Our counselors really should be the first line of support for our students. Rock Valley is certainly there to help, and they do have student services, EAP, those types of things for any social emotional needs that students have while they're at Rock Valley. But as far as like academic counseling, they do provide that to an extent. They have a student tutoring center that students can go to for academic support. All of the Rock Valley resources are available to our students. But as far as like a dedicated advisor, there are 2 people that serve our 40 students, the 130 students from Belvedere, and all the other school districts that participate in the program. So I will definitely make sure our counselors are aware of these concerns and ensure that they are really doing their due diligence to connect with our students.
Okay, that makes better sense with understand it clearly now. That's a bit much for 2 and multiple schools.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Chavez?
Yeah, same thing as Ms. Bennett and Ms. Pearson mentioned, but I know I've spoken to some students, and a big issue they've had, especially, which I can totally relate with in regards is cultural, especially with maybe documents, whether they are available, easily available in Spanish, and just the culture, the change of itself. I mean, it's difficult even for those that are English speaking, not understanding that process, or parents even, but I feel it's even more when the parents have absolutely no idea and leave all that to the student who's just as lost. Is there some way that we can fill that gap, whether on our end, because I'm not sure exactly, I mean, based on my experience, I'm not sure as if Rock Valley it even offers any of that support or not. Is that something that we can do where it's offered to like kind of informational for parents in that regards to like what FAFSA is? You know, some of these parents haven't even heard what FAFSA is, it has no idea, you know, and then the student needs to translate for the parent what is needed, which can also be difficult.
We do, when ISAC comes to our high schools, they do have Spanish-speaking representatives that are available to work with the students, but we can make sure that parents have that same support and know when those sessions are.
I mean, that'd be great, because especially since I think culturally they kind of move as a unit, right? They move as a family with parents involved, and I would like them to have that information and that support as well as a family unit, not just as a student.
Sure.
Thank you.
Ms. McCall?
Thank you. So my comment is, or question is to, you said that there were 2 counselors that was over the students and things. Is there any way, I know that some of this is left up entirely to the students, right? So the students have to decide, you know, if they want to do, and sometimes they're not, you know, able to make those decisions, you know, ahead of time on their own. Is there a reason why maybe parents aren't made aware of the timeline, you know, sophomore year, freshman year, like what the timeline a student should be looking at in preparation for one of these programs? I guess I'm trying to say is how can you get the parents more involved? Because I know, you know, I'm a parent, and some of the things that, you know, because I'm active in question my student about it, you know, they'll be like, well, you know, this was sent to the email was sent to us in August, you know, as soon as the school starts, and they haven't thought about different things like that. So like, I guess my comment is how to, or will you be able to include parents as well, you know, just a simple email or something like, you know, this is when these dates are happening. These are possible choices that your student can, you know, potentially benefit from or participate in, just to try to make sure, because I know it's limited slots.
Yes.
Right. So that makes it even more pertinent that we make sure that all the students and their parents are made aware of how these processes are conducted.
Sure, absolutely. We do send it to the counselors and ask them to disseminate the information, but we now, you know, with Thrill Share, we can definitely send it out to all parents of sophomores a couple times in the year and let them know of the timeline and how to apply. Happy to do that.
I just want to, you know, stop the scrambling at the end of the year or whatever, trying to figure out, you know, if this could be something that they could possibly benefit from, and then, you know, parents are kind of left like, well, we don't even know what to do because we didn't see any emails and everything, and you guys certainly don't have any emails from August, and it's May and different things like that. So just keep in mind that, I guess, to get a stronger support or something, I don't know what the word term is, but just make sure that the parents are made aware of these opportunities as well, not just solely rely on the students making those decisions for themselves as far as whether or not to participate or not.
Yep, we can do that.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
Mr. Carpenter?
Thank you. Is the change, the summary indicates that it's a change from lottery to merit-based. Is that this year currently?
No, it was 2 years ago we made that change.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great, thanks. And so the students going into next year were in that merit-based?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Ms. French. I think that's all the questions.
Hold on one
Just
second.
kidding, Ms. Pearson.
So can you elaborate a little more on the merit-based versus the lottery? Yeah.
So when I started at RPS, we had a lottery-based system. So any student could apply, and then we picked 20 students out of a hat, and those are the 20 students that we were asked to apply, of all the students that were qualified. And what we were finding is that students were dropping out because they weren't prepared. It's a big deal, you know, leaving your home high school, going to college full-time without your peers. It's hard. And so we want to make sure that students really understand what it's like to be in Running Start. And so we have a task force of teachers and counselors that do multiple things. They meet with the students to talk to them about what it means to be in Running Start. They interview the students, and then we ask students to write an essay as well. And then it is based on their grade point average, which is what Rock Valley requires, as well as the AccuPlacer entrance exam. So those 4 things combined make up a score, and it's 100% scored by the committee. I don't have, and nobody in central office has anything to do with the students that are chosen. And what we found is that students who have been chosen through this process have more retention in the program because they fully understand what they're getting into. They're definitely qualified and ready.
So did we consider how we could better prepare students in general for it? Say, so the Running Start program start typically at what grade level?
So you have to apply as a sophomore, and then you're in the program for both 11th and 12th grade.
Okay.
We have 20 11th graders and 20 12th graders, so 40 students in the program annually that we pay for. But we do offer, which is I think next on the agenda, a plethora now of dual credit classes that I would argue are also preparing students for college because they are being taught the college curriculum, the same curriculum that Running Start students are being exposed to, but they are learning it and they are doing it at their home high school, also at no cost to the student or the family.
Okay, so the college readiness that students take their freshman year, correct?
College and career readiness, yes.
Yeah, college
yes.
and career readiness. So there is no room in college and career readiness to prepare students for the dual credit?
So that course is
or the
required.
running, I'm sorry, the Running Start.
So we do talk about Running Start in college and career readiness. I actually am one of the people on my team that goes into those classes and talks to students about what is dual credit, what is Running Start, what is a 2-year college versus a 4-year college, what is Rockford Promise, in addition to many other guest speakers. But we do cover all of that in college and career readiness for freshmen.
Okay, so for the students, so now it's on merit. So when you say they are better prepared, what made them better prepared?
I think that they have a full understanding of what they're getting into. Whereas perhaps before they just heard, well, let me just try and see what happens. So we had hundreds of applicants and only 20 students were getting in. Now we have 50, 75 applicants of highly qualified students that also our population of students are more diverse because we're not just choosing kids based on grade point average. We're meeting with them, we're talking to them, they're writing an essay about their background and why they want to be a part of the program, and those things contribute to their overall score.
Okay, so I'm really trying to understand, and I certainly don't have a problem with the merit piece.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to get a good understanding of is how can we better prepare at their freshman level, or are we looking at their academic outcome from, say, middle school or elementary school? Because for you to be better prepared, something previously happened in order to put you in a better prepared place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to understand, is it too late at their freshman year to prepare them? Or is this something that we should concentrate on in middle school or earlier?
I mean, I think it is a continuum of college and career readiness, exploration. We have a high school readiness course in middle school that all 8th graders take, and these are discussions that happen then.
Okay.
We're talking about careers and early childhood. I mean, I think that we are well suited to prepare students for both college and careers.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Chavez.
I guess my concern is in regards to the comment of preparing students for college and getting them to the next level is if we have students that are expressing their concern. I mean, I assume, counselors check in with them periodically, like, how are you doing? Like, what do you need help with? What do you need support with? But then we're hearing from students where they're not getting the core support they need by filling out a FAFSA form. That's concerning to me because that's a basic 101, right? That should be a foundation of it, especially if having to do with career readiness and progressing to further education. So I'm concerned with that, and I kind of would like to see, I guess, if you provided Dr. Jarrett maybe a more in-depth of what exactly the program is and what's being done, because that's a concern of mine when I hear that from students. Then it's like, then what support is being given besides here, take courses because you're qualified, and that's about it. So I definitely reach out to Dr. Jarrett about that to see more in depth.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to, as Ms. French mentioned, letter R, dual credit memorandum of understanding with Rock Valley College for dual credit courses. There's an opportunity to continue to expand our dual credit offerings to students at all high schools. Dual credit allows students to earn high school and college credit concurrently. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. French regarding letter R?
I think not.
Did you have a question?
What is this now?
Okay, moving on to letter S, Zello platform. Previously, data was tracked manually through Google Sheets. With the adoption of Zello, student experience tracking has been streamlined. Zello now supports student work-based learning tracking, serving as the primary curriculum resource for freshman seminar, college and career readiness, allows students to build individualized learning plans and portfolios, and provides access to job opportunities through its student job board. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. French regarding letter S? Ms. Haley.
No questions, but I do appreciate the work-based learning flyer that you've included in the packet. Thank you so much. I know I had asked you about that earlier.
Okay, moving on to letter T. Teacher professional learning, letters by Lexia Learning, continued investment in additional letters cohorts. Does anybody have questions regarding letter T? Okay, letter U, curriculum resource renewals, FY27, annual licensing for digital instructional resources. Does anybody have a question regarding these resources included? Moving on to letter V, Rosecrans agreement. This agreement is for 11 full-time SAPs housed at middle and high schools for RPS 205. The contract was able to be renegotiated for a significantly reduced price from around $400,000 to around $200,000. Anybody have any questions about this item? Letter W. One moment, please. Circles of Learning Collaboration Agreement. Illinois State Board of Education Early Childhood Block Grant encourages programs to avoid duplication of services and minimize transitions for young children. Collaboration with child care centers provides an opportunity to increase quality in an early learning environment, minimize transitions for young children, and maximize funding. Does anybody have any questions about Circles of Learning? Letter X, intergovernmental agreement between the City of Rockford, Board of Education of Rockford Public Schools, District Number 205, Winnebago and Boone Counties, Illinois. RPS and City of Rockford Head Start will partner to serve up to 210 children through half and full day programming at Summerdale Early Childhood Center, providing comprehensive educational and family support services through shared staffing and resources. Any questions regarding letter X? Letter Y, Amplify, recommend expanding the implementation and renew teacher licenses for Amplify Language Studio K-5, CKLA Skills, and Caminos Spanish. Any questions regarding letter Y for Amplify? Letter Z, Summit K-12, our district's English learner students in grades 2 through 12 need consistent standards, aligned support to strengthen language development and academic achievement. This purchase will provide equitable, high-quality instruction aligned to WIDA standards and support student growth through English proficiency on access. Any questions regarding letter Z? Okay, we're making progress. Double A, special education staffing agencies and outside providers. The district is legally required under Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and Section 504 to identify, evaluate, and serve students eligible for special education. Ongoing staffing shortages across key special education roles creates challenges in completing evaluations on time, maintaining compliance, and delivering required services to students. Does anybody have any questions about Double A, staffing agencies and outside providers for special education? So in addition to that item, we have AB, special education software consolidated contracts to effectively support special education programming across the district. It's essential to provide staff and specialized software resources that strengthen curriculum implementation and enhance access to assessment tools and instructional materials and support efficient and compliant IEP development and management. Any questions regarding consolidated contracts for special education software? AC, special education supplemental materials to effectively support our special education. We need to provide our special education teachers with supplemental resources that emphasize structured literacy and evidence-based math practices that address the individual needs and skill gaps of students in reading and math. Any questions regarding supplemental materials for special education?
Can I ask a question on AA, actually? Sorry.
Yes. Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you. Just regarding the outside contractors for special education, I was wondering if maybe at the beginning of the school year, if we could get a report on like how many positions are open that we're trying to hire. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Letter AD, intergovernmental agreement with the regional office. Expelled middle and high school students are supported through Rockford Public Schools in partnership with Boone Winnebago Regional Office of Education, ROE4, and Summit Academy to ensure continued academic and social emotional learning in an alternative setting with pathways back to their homeschooler graduation. Does anybody have any questions regarding IGA with the ROE and Summit? Mr. Carpenter?
Do we have data on how well the students do after coming back from Summit?
Dr. Turner is here to answer questions for you. Good evening. You just have to turn the mic on.
Yes, we do have that data. And as far as this year, for students that attended Summit and then returned back to their home school, 98% of those students were successful and did not have repeat behaviors that would have them go back to the Summit Academy.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. Line item AE, Boone, Winnebago County Regional Office of Education, number 4, truancy services for truancy intervention services. ROE provides supports to students facing persistent and severe attendance challenges. ROE4 will provide direct services through case management and individualized family support. In addition, ROE will take the lead on representing applicable cases for both truancy court and educational neglect court, ensuring a comprehensive, coordinated, and legally compliant response to chronic absenteeism. This partnership also allows district staff to focus on early interventions and school-based support, while ROE provides targeted services for students requiring deeper intervention. The goal is to reduce chronic absenteeism, increase instructional time, and improve academic outcomes for our highest need students. Does anybody have any questions regarding truancy intervention services through ROE? Ms. Pearson.
I will have, just to, give you heads up.
Thank you. Line item AF, IT consolidated contracts FY27. The district's IT, information technology services, and information services maintain several software and services contracts for operational, cybersecurity, physical security, student, and academic facing systems. The contracts included in the IT consolidated contracts FY27 are set to expire FY26 and are due for renewal. Any questions regarding IT consolidated contracts? Okay, no. Ms. Pearson, I'm sorry.
So that would be the same concept as consolidating any other contracts. You're getting bulk of this with this as well?
That's not quite the case with these, Ms. Pearson, but these are our core business systems that we just put together because they are basically what are critical to run our districts, such as our time clock systems, our business and financial systems, and our student support systems, such as our student information system. So we just grouped them together because they are our core systems.
I get it. Okay. Yep.
Item AG, student teacher apartment lease renewals. To support a strong teacher pipeline, we aim to continue offering furnished apartments to student teachers during their placement semester. This helps expand access for candidates from regional universities while connecting them to the Rockford community. Any questions regarding student teacher apartment lease renewals?
I have a question.
Ms. Haley.
Just regarding the leases, are the units occupied throughout the lease term? So starting in July through the following year, is there someone in those spaces every month?
Mr. Pope is here, and I believe he will have answers to all of your questions.
So the student teacher leases are leased the spring or the fall semester. Students can move in as early as the first week of July, and they can stay in the apartment up until the end of December. And then our spring student teachers typically move in the first week of January, and they have it through the end of June.
Good.
So our lease runs July to June, and we keep it leased through that whole time.
Cool. The other question I had, are these shared units?
So we have 4 single bedrooms and then 1 2-bedroom. So with the 2-bedroom, we typically has primarily been from Illinois State University, but we will work with our university partners to make sure that we're partnering 2 students that want to be together and then ultimately, hopefully want to stay in Rockford as well.
Okay, so that answers my third question. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I have one quick question since you're here.
Yeah.
So for students, when they're finishing that lease, if they decide to stay there, do you, RPS, provide any support to them to find housing or kind of, help them navigate the city, those kinds of things?
Yep. So part of the advantage of having them in the apartment is they're able to start to acclimate to the city of Rockford, which is really like the goal of it, to get them to want to stay here. And then as we work with their student teachers to secure teaching positions for the following school year, we also connect them with other resources, whether it be through Urban Equity, who has been our primary partner through this, or other apartment agencies or realtors throughout the region too. We've also had some retired teachers that have offered to have rental units that they will sometimes sublet out to future educators. So we have a robust partnership that we try to connect them with a lot of different resources.
That's great. Thank you. I didn't know the retired teacher component. That's great. Thank you. Ms. Stanford?
So do the student teachers pay rent?
They do not. We pay the rent. So that's the lease on the apartment is us covering the lease for the semester that they're there.
So we only have 5. How do you choose which 5 get the free rent?
Yep. So there's actually, there'll be 6 students each semester because one of them is a 2-bedroom. So there's an application process they go through, and we look at a couple different factors. One being universities that we're trying to build partnerships with. So example, as we were starting to build the partnership with the University of Iowa, we wanted to reserve at least 1 apartment for an Iowa student. And then Iowa worked to identify a student that would be able to take that apartment and ideally stay in Rockford. We actually had 3 come from Iowa, and we've hired 2 of the 3 that have been here. Otherwise, through the application process, we look at high needs areas. So where are our highest needs in some of our content areas? And then also we look at, could a student teach in Rockford if they did or did not have the apartment? So that's kind of the tiebreaker as well. If we have 2 students and they're in the same content area, all things being equal, if one would be able to teach here without an apartment and one would not, the student that could not would get preference.
I do want to add that we are one of the earliest adopters and consistent adopters of paying people to be aspiring teachers, which is a year-long student teaching experience, and paying some of our student teachers a stipend. So for those that don't get the subsidized apartment, we do have the option where they do bring in income. Historically, the way student teaching worked was you paid tuition, so you're working to maybe pay your tuition and you're in charge of your own living expenses, and you're working probably 60 hours a week with no income coming in, but the privilege of earning the degree to become a teacher, which is great. But what we have done pretty well under Jason's leadership, and Dr. Reed has been instrumental in this as well, is we've really turned that model on its head. And I think that we're getting some national and statewide recognition because we really believe that you should invest in the early career educators. Teaching is a really backloaded profession. The financial gains for veteran teachers with the quality benefits, our pension system, that stuff's pretty great. But starting out as a teacher is a challenge sometimes. I mean, when you start talking about early salaries, and certainly during the student teaching experience. So I think what Jason and Dr. Reed and the team did is they built this out over the last 5 to 7 years. Is we said, gosh, what can we do to remove barriers to the teaching profession, and specifically to the teaching profession right here in Rockford, Illinois. And it's paid some pretty huge dividends. So a huge shout out to Jason and his team for continuing to perfect this. I only wish we could do more. I think as we continue to invest in the grant that we've earned, that's helped us keep this going. But in the long run, I think building a class of professional housing for early professionals, we've talked about partnerships with the city and other employers. I can envision a world where we have 30 or 35 student teachers that are living in apartments, but we will have to find a sustainable funding source to make something like that happen. So it is our goal to keep growing this program, but boy, Jason and the team have made every dollar count from that grant as well as from our local investments. So I'm really grateful for that.
Ms. McCall?
Thank you. Is there, so there's enough housing for the people that's in the program, or is it just a selected number? I don't know if I missed that. And 2, do those students occupy the whole semesters? Like if something come up and the student has to leave or whatever, can't complete it, will those units remain empty, or is there some type of a pipeline that flows them into it? Or could you explain that process to me a little bit?
Yeah, so traditionally a student teacher will have to student teach for 16 weeks. Primarily, traditionally that is in one district. So if we give somebody an apartment, we want to ensure that they're going to be here for the full time. So there are sometimes student teachers that will split like 8 weeks in 2 different districts. If we know a student is looking at splitting time in a district, they won't be awarded an apartment because we don't want it to sit empty if there's somebody else that could be in there. So that is one of the deciding factors that we have. And I apologize, what the second part of your, as far as could we fill more apartments? I could fill as many apartments as you'd let me rent.
No, was there a pipeline, like if somebody had to say that split? Like a next in line. Yeah, next in line for the apartments.
If we did lose somebody mid-year, we have enough student teachers that I'm sure we could move somebody into one and they would graciously take it. Every semester we do unfortunately have to turn students away. When we do have to turn a student away from an apartment, we still try to keep them by being able to potentially offer the student teacher stipend. So where a student teacher, a commuter of an hour or more is not realistic to expect them to student teach here. So that's somebody that would definitely need an apartment. Somebody that's maybe commuting 30 to 45 minutes that might be on, should I student teach in Rockford or should I maybe student teach closer to home? When we can't provide housing, but we can provide that stipend, that almost always secures them to come here. And then I believe once we get them here and we get them into our schools and we put the professional development in them that we do around our student teachers, we connect them with our community and our buildings and our kids. That's the strategy for keeping them.
Thank you. So in theory, the apartments will never be vacant?
No, we've never had a vacant apartment. I will not let one sit vacant, trust me.
Thank you.
If worst case scenario, if we had a vacant apartment, I would put a first year teacher in there. We wouldn't let it sit vacant.
Thank you so much. Letter AH, workers' compensation stop loss, workers' compensation renewal. Midwest Employers Casualty Company is currently the district's excess workers' compensation insurance provider. The district is in the second year of a 2-year contract with a rate guarantee. However, a binder renewal payment is required for the upcoming year. Does anybody have any questions regarding this item? Letter AI, Charles Taylor, workers' comp. The district has partnered with Charles Taylor as its workers' compensation TPA. Since 2021, they manage claims, coordinate care, ensure compliance, and support employee recovery. A review of 10 years of claims data showed that over 70% of costs come from slips, trips, and falls, lifting strains, student-related incidents, and transportation accidents, leading to the recommendation of a safety program to reduce recurring claims. Does anybody have any questions about this item? Letter AJ, UW Wellness Center's renewal contract. The current contract with UW Health for the district's employee wellness centers expires June 30th, 2026. In order for the district to continue providing the various health services for eligible employees and their dependents, the district must decide whether to renew under revised terms that balance cost control, access to care, and financial sustainability. Any questions regarding this item? No. Okay, that concludes our portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Great job, thank you. We're now moving on to the Planning and Development Committee, and I will turn that over to Ms. Pearson.
Thank you. Tonight we will be presented with the preliminary FY27 budget from the following departments: Human Resource, Health Insurance Fund, Nutrition Services, Operations, Capital Life Safety, Technology Services, Security Services, and Continuous Improvement and Accountability. Please hold your questions till the end of each department's presentation. Tonight we'll start with Human Resource budget. Before that, Dr. Brown will provide a brief update on the overall budget. FY27 budget presentation to the board will continue at July Committee of the Whole meeting. He's going to jump in real quick.
Are you jumping in first?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't know I was going to do that, so I don't have anything. So we can go ahead and jump right in.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and give you an overview of the HR budget. What you see in front of you is my org chart for my HR leadership team. Nothing has changed since last year except for Diana Alt is retiring this summer, as the Executive Director of Talent Development, and Alvina Ivy will be moving into that position. This is a list of just some of the HR services that we provide. High-level highlights from Human Resources. One is we introduced new voluntary benefits this year, and Tanel will go in more detail on those. And we had several hundred employees sign up for and purchase our new voluntary benefits this last open enrollment. And then lastly, I'll cover a compliance audit. So we are due for an audit through ISB and the Regional Office of Education every 3 years, or when there is a new superintendent. So we have partnered with them to get an idea of the things that they look for, and we've done our own internal preliminary audit within HR, just to prepare for it. And this particular slide here is our overall HR budget summary. We've reduced cost or spend in every line. You can see that salaries and benefits went up, and that is due to salary increases and benefit increases. The next is overview of some HR contracts, slight increase in firm, which is our fingerprinting and background checks. So that's increased slightly because of the number and the volume that we do. And the next slide, we have reduced cost in all of these line items as well. Power School, we eliminated our Schoology platform. So that's where you see a savings of about $44,000. We will start to leverage our new ERP system, working with Mr. Barthel and what that will look like, so leveraging that in the future. And that's kind of the main thing. And University of Illinois, so we have a bachelor's for social workers, and we have our last cohort this fall. They will be graduating, I believe, in December, and we have 2 students in that program. So Jason Pope and I are looking at finding another university partner for the social worker pathway. And on the talent development side, we've reduced cost in all line items, including benefits and salaries, because we did reduce through the reduction in force 2 positions in this department. And then lastly, before I hand it over to Tanel, we managed to get a little bit of a cost savings through Public School Works, which is our mandated training platform. And then holding space for any additional large-scale training. So yes, we are using the quad when we can. We are using the school buildings for teacher training, but for like new teacher orientation, when we have large groups, 100 or more, we do need to make sure we have additional or larger space, and also space for breakout rooms. But I did reduce the dollar amount for additional facility rental. So I will hand it over to Tanel, and she'll walk us through the health insurance fund. Yep.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, I'm going to go through this and point out some highlights. This is just an informational slide. It highlights the district's expected sources of revenue that will be offset, the district expected sources of revenue that will offset FY27 projected claims and administration costs. Yes. I'm telling my boss what to do. Here we go. Okay, so on this slide, I'm going to point out 2 things, maybe 3. It's going to be the medical, dental, claims, and administration fees have increased slightly, which is based on utilization, industry trend, and claim analysis and the recommendation from our broker. The other thing I would like to point out here is at the bottom, UW Health Clinics. As mentioned earlier through the approval, we were able to secure a lower cost for service due to the renegotiation of the contract. On this slide, I'd like to point your attention to Express Scripts, which is our benefit, our pharmacy benefit manager. we are seeing an increase because as of 7/1, we are consolidating to 1 BPM, which of course increases our utilization costs. And the other thing I'd like to point to is Inspira, which is the second Inspira. As of December of 2025, Blue Cross Blue Shield dissolved their contract with their third-party administrator that we used, which was Equity Health for COBRA administration. So in December, we secured a new contract under Inspira, and that's why you see this line item that was not there previously for this amount. Okay, on this slide, these are our favorite lines of coverages because these are 100% paid by the employees. These are voluntary supplemental products, and it's better known in the industry as pass-through coverages. These allow employers to enhance and attract talent and enhance their benefit portfolio, but to no cost to them. So I want to point out the 3 additional ones on the bottom of the slide, which Ms. Crowley mentioned earlier: Reliance Standard, Accident Coverage, Critical Care, and Hospital Indemnity are the 3 coverages that will be effective 7/1, and we had a really good turnout during open enrollment. Okay, and do you want me to read that? Okay, so of course our return on investment is to mitigate health care costs, provide quality benefits, educate and facilitate retirees, and wellness-conscious employees. Are there any questions?
We'll take them at the end.
Oh, at the end?
Can I ask now or no?
Sorry.
Thank you. Do you mind pinning it, and then when we get through all the presentation of the budget, did you make note of it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm assuming it's my turn because it says Nutrition Services. My name is Colleen Marchese, and I'm the Executive Director of Nutrition Services. And today I am here to present our fiscal year 27 budget. I'd like to first start with a few of our highlights from the 25-26 school year. We were able to upgrade and revitalize some of our kitchen equipment over this last year. Did some installs over last summer, Thanksgiving break, and winter break. So things included combi ovens, steamers, some upgraded service lines. So those things not only help our staff perform better, but of course then the product we can provide to students is higher quality. We also were able to conduct our second annual Tyson Chicken Sandwich Competition, which is a mouthful. But we have awesome Tyson representatives and partners, and they helped us create a really robust competition the year prior, so we were able to do a second year of that. During the fall semester, we asked students to create and draw what they would think their ultimate chicken sandwich would look like. And then we go through hundreds of submissions. They are incredibly creative, artistic, and some are not feasible, but some are. And we have a great time looking through that. We award a winner to 1 elementary student, 1 middle school student, 1 high school student. This year, Tyson, again, great partners. We were able to give each of those winners a Nintendo Switch. And then the most exciting part, which is giving our students an opportunity to try their ultimate chicken sandwich in the spring semester. So really great turnout again this year. We hope to do it again next year. Something that we launched brand new this year at our high school locations was our new made-to-order stations. So you can see we had 4 different rotating stations. They ran for a week long and then rotated to the next one, and so on and so forth. So this gave students an opportunity to customize what they have each day instead of just saying, hey, this is what's on the menu. So comfort cuisine, for example, was our wings and our fried chicken, it's baked, mac and cheese on the side, just kind of that comfort station. Southwest station, what you'd imagine, nachos, tacos, that sort of thing. Stir fry bar, fried rice, chow mein noodles, and a variety of different chickens with General Tso's, orange chicken, that sort of thing. Penne bowl, kind of an Italian opportunity with penne, meatballs, chicken, marinara sauce, Alfredo, kind of whatever they want. So those have been really exciting launches for us this year. We're continuing it next year, launching a 5th week-long station. Students have been really excited about the ability to customize what they have each day. And then one other thing I wanted to highlight was we had an administrative review for our department this year. It's typically every 3 to 5 years. Our last one was in 2019, so prior to my time here. One note that I'll make is I was so proud of my team. We only had 3 citations. None of them were fiscal, and the lead auditor on that team of auditors that came has been auditing Rockford Public Schools for 30 years, and he said this is the best that the Nutrition Services Department has ever looked in the past 30 years. So I was glowing with pride. Thank you. My team was thrilled. I was so proud of them. So we have worked really hard over the last 5 years to do that, and I'm thrilled that that comment was delivered. So now for the numbers. So Nutrition Services is a revenue generating department. So this is our revenue slide. We do get most of our funding from the federal government, but we do get a small stipend from the state of Illinois. You'll see the first line item is from Illinois. It stays about the same. It's about 4 cents on every meal that we serve. The National School Lunch Program and Snack and the National School Breakfast Program are the bulk of that revenue, and that's all dependent on every meal we serve times the reimbursement rate. So that's where we kind of guess on how many students are going to participate with us. I'm excited to announce that we just renewed our 4-year cycle of CEP, which allows us to serve free students or free meals to students for breakfast and lunch. So we're renewed for another 4 years, which is fantastic. So like I said, this is our estimation on where we'll be for the next school year. We do have a small daycare program. We do have some catering expenses and some student sales, which are like a la carte items. And then we get into our expenses here. So like others have already mentioned, benefits have increased, so you'll see an increase there. Salaries, we're in our 3rd year of our contract with Nutrition Services, and so we did have a slightly larger increase of salaries in the 3rd year and final year of our contract, so that's what contributes to that variance. Purchase services, those are pretty much, obviously this is simplified, but purchase services are pretty much all of the services like cleaning, maintenance, sanitation services, things like that. Supplies, that's the bulk of our operation, which is food, disposables, things like that. So every time we do serve more meals, we also see an increase in the amount of supplies we need to purchase. Non-capital, we always set aside a little bit amount for non-capital equipment purchases to make sure that if anything breaks down, biggest thing that comes to mind is like our breakfast carts. We need to make sure we replace those. And then capital is, like I mentioned earlier in our highlights, those bigger pieces of equipment, our combi ovens, our freezers, things like that. We do set aside a decent amount to upgrade those types of things and make sure that we have those funds allocated. Other miscellaneous is our kitchen license that we have to have for each of our kitchens and our Serve Safe certificates that each of our managers have to have. And just a few of our contracts. So we do have a contract with Domino's Pizza. You'll see it's decreased. It's not really majorly decreased. The fiscal year 26 is the contract amount that we had established about 3 years ago. But due to the cadence that we're doing it now, it is decreased for fiscal year 27. Prairie Farms is our milk, just milk. And then Link is our contract that we do everything in. It's our point of sale, it's our inventory, it's our recipes, it's our production sheets, everything back of house and front of house. And then Air Mechanical is our preventative maintenance contract that was just renewed this year, or I should say established this year. We had a different vendor prior, and that is all for our coolers and freezers preventative maintenance. We do have to do repairs and things like that, so the cost is higher, but this is just the preventative piece. And obviously for nutrition services, our goal is that students not only have academic success, but they're able to work and learn and play successfully at school through having proper nutrition. Any questions? Okay.
All right, good evening. I'm going to present the operations budget. Unlike nutrition services, we are not a revenue generating department. We're very much an expense department. Right here is our current director overview. We do have a vacancy for the chief operations officer. I've been filling as interim since March 3rd. You will see a couple reports in here, such as the nutrition services, which currently reports through the finance department. And you also see the athletics and fine arts, which is currently reporting through the schools team. These are some of our highlights for this past year. We've had a lot of our internal trades to be able to support our capital projects we've been working on to offset some of the cost of our facilities master plan work and many other capital projects. Our facilities work orders, our completion rate has been 86% on time, which continues to increase year over year. This is the overview of our budget summary here. First, with salaries and benefits, you'll notice a $118,000 decrease in that. That is for two reasons. One, we did do some reductions in force with the DMG prison work we did, and we also had some retirements in a couple positions that we did not pursue to backfill as we move into FY27. You'll see a substantial increase in our purchase services as we move into FY27. While we have seen some decreases in some of our contracts, we have had some large increases in as we went out to rebid for custodial, and we'll talk a little bit about that in some future slides here. We also budgeted a little bit more in our snow and ice removal to cover our costs. And we did move about $400,000 worth of contracts that you'll see the reduction in when we touch on our life safety that needed to be moved into Fund 20. For supplies, and we'll touch on that as well, about a $945,000 increase. That's primarily our electrical and natural gas. We did rebid that, and just because of the volatility of the market and the increased cost in that, you'll see that in future slides on how that went up. For non-capital, that's primarily with our classroom furniture, more really focused on our special ed and AU classrooms next year that we had to purchase furniture for across multiple buildings. And then you'll see about a $500,000 decrease in our capital line item here. And that's really because we're not funding any capital projects through our Fund 10 and Fund 20. As we're capturing a lot of those costs with our facilities master plan in our Fund 60, as well as our Fund 92 for any of our decennial life safety and our life safety projects, for a total increase of about $1.6 million. This is one of many of our detailed contract slides here. I'll just point out specifically, we brought this up earlier with our custodial contract services. We did go out to bid just a couple of months ago. Actually, I think it was December. We approved it a couple of months ago here at board for GSF to cover our custodial services. That increase primarily reflects staff and supply cost increases for GSF. You'll also see a decrease in our demographer work here. We are still doing our review and continue to do the work for what it might look like for some allocations and some boundary work. However, we did not pursue an enrollment analysis because we just completed that work, so we won't need to budget that for a couple of years. On this slide, as we mentioned earlier, electric service is significantly up. Our previous contract that we had was about 7.2 cents per kilowatt. And when we rebid that, actually jumped, the rate jumped to 8.9 cents. It's just the market right now with that. And as you can imagine, we use a lot of kilowatts per year, 34 million to be exact. So that adds up quite quickly on that. So that's a $785,000 almost of our increase there. Same thing with the natural gas. We did also see an increase by a few cents there with our natural gas usage. On this side, I just want to point out two items on here. Our HOH water treatment, which is our HVAC water treatment, while it is not a significant increase, it's almost double the cost from last year, and the chemicals that we use to maintain our boiler systems in our buildings have gone up substantially. We're seeing that nationwide with these type of chemicals, so I just wanted to point that out because it's nearly doubled in that cost. And then the other one that I want to point out is our Helm Mechanical. That went up about $95,000. Helm does all of our building automation and management for our temperature controls and monitoring for our buildings. As we have added more square footage through our facilities master plan projects, and then the addition of the quad, we've added more equipment for them to monitor, but also more space for them to monitor for all of our building work that we've done. On this line, as I mentioned earlier, we did have a substantial increase for our snow and ice removal. This is a worst case scenario that we budgeted for right here. We under budgeted a little bit this past year because we had some significant snow. So we wanted to make sure that we were budgeted appropriately for next year. We do anticipate that to likely come in probably closer to that $600,000 range, but we want to be prepared just in case. There's no significant changes on this slide, so I'll just take a second here. On this one, I want to point out one significant item here, and that would be our Gordian Group design and construction software. That was one of those softwares as we went through our DMG PRISM work. It was an initiative that we were using to support some of our project management that we were able to capture another system that we chose not to continue to pursue. On this slide here, this is, I want to point out our SMG security holding, which is for our fire extinguisher services, as well as our asbestos abatement contracts. While you do see a variance of $84,558 and a savings of $13,000 with those two in this particular budget, both of the entirety of those FY27 costs were actually captured in Fund 92. So when we look at the total cost of detail of contracts at $1.6 million, it's actually capturing the 321 and the 62,000, which lived in our Fund 92, which was our health, life, safety budgets, but we had to move that within this budget. You'll actually see that as a reduction when I move forward with that life safety work. This next budget is our capital and life safety projects. These are our capital projects here. Let me get up here. As you can see, we don't have any salary and benefits budgeted out of this particular fund. Our purchase services, our supplies, non-capital, we had some decreases across the board on that. For our capital decrease of $5.27 million there, that's primarily because we are continuing to work on completing our construction for our facilities master plan projects for years 1 from last year and year 2 this year. And we have a lesser cost going into the next fiscal year. We actually also, which you'll hear a little bit later from Dr. Brown on the facilities master plan funding options, that we're kind of at a pause for planning for next summer right now as we work through on what our funding opportunities and options might be to continue that work. These are just a few here that were captured in capital projects. The only one I want to point out is the project manager that we had budgeted in the past for $33,000. We brought all that project management in-house with our own staff, so we're no longer outsourcing that work. This is the life safety budget summary. As I mentioned here, we do have, from salaries and benefits, we do have a reduction in force for one FTE for that line. For purchase services, as I mentioned before, this is capturing that $411,000 reduction in this budget for our fire extinguisher and our SMG alarm services, as well as our asbestos abatement work, which moved into that Fund 10 and Fund 20 budget. For our capital work, right now, and we're still working on aligning what has been approved for life safety projects through our ISB on IWAS portal, and we think that might be slightly under that 11 million. But this really captures a lot of the projects that we're working on from a life safety perspective. This includes things like plumbing upgrades for Fairview, Conklin, Nashville, Summerdale, some elevator upgrades at East and Lincoln, and also some of the design work that we've begun to move forward with for our roof replacement and fascia replacement at Marshall Middle, as well as the roof at Jefferson. So that's what's captured in that cost there. We do think it'll be probably closer to a 7 or 8 million. Working with Dr. Brown and going through all the amendments right now to verify that number. Overall, there's a $5.8 million increase in the life safety budget. And these are the two contracts I mentioned that we moved into the Fund 10, Fund 20. And then, like the capital projects, we are no longer budgeting a contracted project manager to do that work. We brought that work in-house. Our return on investment here is creating spaces that promote learning, collaboration, and social health, control exposure to risk, and provide support to all of our schools and departments. And so you don't have to hear me anymore. I've brought my highly skilled and qualified directors to be able to present the technology, security, and continuous improvement budgets.
All right, good evening. I'm Matt Johnson, Director of IT and IS Security.
I'm Andrew Lippert, Technology Services Director.
And tonight we'll be walking through the fiscal year 27 budgets for technology, security, and continuous improvement and accountability. Our focus is on the budget changes from last year, where we're seeing increases or decreases, and the key reasons behind those changes. On this slide here, we're showing our current organizational structure, focusing on the directors reporting to the Chief Information Officer, Jason Barthel. This is largely unchanged, but I'll leave it up for just a moment here if anybody wants to review the current organizational structure. Going into highlights, this slide here is highlighting the main areas within technology: technology services, educational technology, IT security, information services, security services, and continuous improvement and accountability. And continuing with the highlights on the second slide here, these are showing more of that full scope of work behind the technology budget. Together, these highlights are giving context for the budget changes we'll be reviewing next. So we'll begin with the technology services budget, focusing on key fiscal year 27 budget changes and their overall impacts. On the technology services budget summary, there are a few points here I want to highlight. I think there are about 5 points I'm going to highlight on this slide here. First, under salaries and benefits, we're showing a decrease of about $472,000. That is due to staffing reductions. After reviewing our structure with the DMG PRISM initiative and through internal review, we will be keeping services moving with a more streamlined department. Second, purchase services are showing an increase of about $1.26 million. That needs some context. Through careful planning, the overall technology services budget was first reduced by about $2.6 million. That gave us room to begin moving forward with a $1.84 million ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning Platform Replacement Project. So even with that major project included, the overall technology service budget is still showing a decrease compared to previous year.
So jumping into supplies, this is mostly the hardware that we use at the schools and that staff use. So we have a $1.34 million reduction there. So where's that reduction coming from? Some of you might be thinking about the current AI infrastructure build-out and how that's increasing prices and there's shortages on various things. Well, some of that we were able to mitigate and reduce our costs. That was just through life cycle planning. So buying the correct amount at the correct time. And then part of that also is by basically buying at the right time, understanding those market conditions, and then buying. So we reduced the number of smart boards that we're buying for FY27. We reduced the number of iPads, and then we reduced the number of Windows devices that we will be buying for this upcoming fiscal year as well. So that's where those reductions come from.
When we look at non-capital, that line is increasing by about $250,000. This is directly connected to that ERP project I had mentioned. While it does show an increase here, it is part of that larger plan shift in how we're funding and moving that work forward. On the capital side, we are showing a reduction of $490,000. That is mainly due to the completion of several larger projects in fiscal year 26, including the network infrastructure work at Quad and the district's digital clock and PA project. Since those projects were completed, we are not carrying over that same level of capital cost into fiscal year 27. For total, technology services is showing an overall reduction of about $790,000. The important context is that we first reduced budget by $2.6 million through planning and review, and then are adding back that ERP project at $1.8 million, which still leaves us with a net reduction of $790,000 for fiscal year 27.
Okay, so business operations contracts, I'll touch on Follow Destiny. So Follow Destiny is our library, textbook, and asset management system we use. So we were able to get a $15,000 reduction there. That was just better aligning our resources to the building needs. So we're able to capture that there. Everything else is just kind of year-to-year variance. So we have some decreases and some nominal increases as well. So overall, a $6,000 increase in our business operations contracts. For student resources, I'm going to focus on a couple things here. For our AWS virtual labs, we are seeing a decrease of about $35,000. This comes from consolidating the services and reshaping the contract to make it more focused on storage, redundancy, and resiliency rather than the broader use we had previously been using AWS virtual labs for. ClassLink is showing a slight increase, but that is mainly just due to right-sizing our licensing to better match the district's changing student enrollment year to year. Okay. So technology/development, starting with Gopher Mod. So Gopher Mod is our standard repair vendor. We use them for some of our iPads and some of our Chromebooks. We've been doing basically a multi-year roll-up into ChromeCare. This is a more cost-effective prepaid device repair plan that we get with our devices. So this has just been a year-to-year decrease. This year we have a $85,000 decrease. And then we also have a slight decrease in our professional development services for PowerSchool of $5,000. So overall, we have $90,000 of cost savings there.
Okay, moving into telephony contracts, there are two items here I'm going to highlight. First, single wire and Formacast. Slight increase there of $11,000. That is due to additional units being added into buildings as part of the construction work tied to the facilities master plan. Second, we are not pursuing the budgeted call reporting software at $50,000. Which will show a decrease of $50,000 this budget cycle because we plan to address that functionality, but we're going to do it through other planned telephony initiatives.
Okay, compliance and reporting. So one of the big items here is that we have been using a platform called GoGuardian. So that has two components to it. One is a filtering component that's used on student devices, so that's content filtering. And then the other is GoGuardian Beacon. So Beacon is basically self-harm alerts so that principals and counselors get notification if students are searching or inquiring about, self-harm and things like that. So we're moving to a new product. It's called LineWise. LineWise has more robust content filtering. It just does a better job. We are able to kind of test it against our current platform. Does great. And then it also has feature parity for those self-harm notifications. So we're able to reduce on the content portion of that $13,000, and then we have $110,000 on the GoGuardian Beacon removal. Now, I say removal, but just remember that we're actually retaining those self-harm notifications. Next up on here is Decision Ed Data Warehouse. So we're not continuing that into FY27. That was removed as part of our DMG initiative, cost savings initiatives. Overall, we have a $173,000 in cost reduction there.
For security and backup, our IT security agreements, which ends up covering and encompassing about 24 contracts that cover redundancy, resiliency, and all of our security controls for within the district, are decreasing by about $164,000. That's mainly from tightening up several security-related contracts. One example in this is our Know Before platform for security awareness training. We are discontinuing that project due to the DMG initiative, but we're going to be rolling it up into our district's already established mandated training platform.
Okay. Miscellaneous contracts. First one is near and dear to me. That's our help desk ticketing system. So we rolled that out last year. Slight increase on here. We're adding a feature. It's basically for workflow approvals. We've been expanding the system. We've added grad tracking, and then we're adding student placement for the upcoming year. So that's that $13,500 increase. Boxed up, that's remote storage. So we have a secondary storage facility that we're renting out by the post office. We were using that for some FY26 projects, our cell repeater project. We had some large spools of wires and things like that in there. We no longer need that space for FY27, so we're removing that. That's a $32,000 reduction. Last up is Beyond Trust Remote Access. That's a tool that our help desk will use to provide remote support for staff. So our current product that we're using is end of life, and this is the new one that we're adopting. So overall, in the miscellaneous contracts, we have a $2,683 increase, but our grand total for technology services contracts is at $478,000 reduction. Oh yeah, I'm still on this one. All right, so district-wide contracts. These are contracts that are managed by IT but are paid by different departments in schools. So first one on here, we have copiers. So everyone uses copiers. We have a $124,000 increase. So where does that increase come from? That comes from our maintenance contract. Our maintenance contract is based on how much printing we do. So we've had a substantial increase in printing, and that's where the $124,000 variance comes from. Next up is AT&T FirstNet, so that's our cellular contract. Couple of areas where we've seen that increase. One is just positions that require a cell phone for usage, and the second one would be with the transportation department for cellular connected tablets that we use on some of the buses. So overall, a $28,600 increase there, and then a $153,000 increase between the two.
Okay, moving into the security services budget. First, we'll focus on salaries and benefits. $11,000 increase there, very slight. This is just normal salary, benefit, and CPI-related adjustments. Purchase services are decreasing by about $408,000. The main drivers for this are reductions in school resource officer reductions in the security resource officer contract and security installation contracts. I'll be breaking those down more in future slides here. Third, non-capital is decreasing by about $190,000. That is mainly due to a reduction in planned camera hardware installation in fiscal year 27. And overall, these changes will leave the security services budget with a decrease of about $583,000. Moving into some more detail of contracts here, we've got Montel Technologies. Montel Technologies is decreasing by $100,000 in the install and maintenance of security equipment, and $200,000 decrease in the new camera installation. As mentioned on the previous slide, this is tied to reduction and aligning of our security camera installation projects fiscal year 27. Second, our contract with the city of Rockford for school resource officers is decreasing by $300,000. The city was very collaborative during this renewal of our 2-year MOU, which continues support for 10 SROs across our school district. In our contract detail, there is nothing major to call out on this slide here beyond standard cost increases that come with maintaining these services. Overall, with this budget, when we look in total, we see about a $580,000 decrease in security services budget.
Okay, home stretch. Continuous improvement and accountability, our budget for FY27 preliminary. So starting off, salaries and benefits, there is a $59,000 reduction that has to do with the reduction in staff. Then we have a $400,000 reduction in purchase services. I will go into that further on the next slide, and then some other small reductions. Overall, a total reduction or total cost savings of $466,000. Okay, so big one here is K-12 Insight. So we have two current platforms we're using through them. We have our Let's Talk subscription and our management surveys. So the Let's Talk subscriptions, that's what we're using for community and staff feedback. that is moving to the comms department, and we are not going to be renewing that subscription. Instead, we will be conducting that feedback through existing internal resources. The management surveys, so that is our standards of service and employee engagement surveys, those will be retained by the Continuous Improvement and Accountability Department, but we'll also be conducting those using internally available resources. So a $64,000 reduction there. Next up is NWEA MAP, the K-12 growth assessments. Those are being replaced by STAR next year. So that is $220,000 reduction there. The school status amend, so that's attendance subscription support, that's actually moving to the Family and Community Engagement Department under Maureen Kirschman. So that's just no longer captured in this budget, and that's a $105,000 reduction. Last up, we have the strategic plan. So we're due for a strategic plan for FY27. This $100,000 is earmarked to execute that strategic plan. So this is to align with the goals of the new superintendent for FY27. Overall, we have a reduction there of $361,000. Okay, so in summary, return on investment. So we are supporting the instructional core. So how are we doing that? Well, we're providing secure, available, and reliable technology access. We are providing application support and educator training, making sure that we have safe and secure buildings, support for state accountability, mandated assessments, and stakeholder feedback structures, such as surveys. And then data analysis. So that's that academic return on investment, district dashboards, and state indicators. Thank you.
Excuse me? Yes, June has a question.
So do you want me to go back to the first?
Yes.
Okay. Under HR, what's a zero card? I have no idea what slide it's on.
Okay, zero card is a voluntary third-party additional line of coverage that our PPO participants, my mic isn't, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, is that our PPO participants can elect to go to instead of Blue Cross Blue Shield, because there is a contract that for a certain geographical area, this group of providers say, this is what I'm going to charge for this amount in this zip code. So we have a guaranteed reduction of costs when our employees elect to go there, but they're also free to go to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So by its name, Zero Card, if the employees go through that program, it's zero cost to the employees.
Okay. The other thing I wrote down is that you said we were consolidating to one BPM.
Yes. To Express Scripts.
But Express Scripts administration fee is up $2.8 million.
The reason why is because prior to 7/1, this upcoming 7/1 of 2026, we have two medical plans. We have a high deductible plan and we have a PPO. Since I've been here and before, the high deductible plan was with Blue Cross Blue Shield pharmacy vendor, which is Prime Therapeutic. And our PPO individuals that also have a plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield, that was with Express Scripts. PPO is our largest insured population, okay? The smaller population is the high deductible health plan. Because we had these two separate for so long, it was hard to go to market. We couldn't get the kind of rebates we needed from manufacturers. It was disjointed. So we worked with our new broker and we went to market, and it was recommended that we consolidate this into one pharmacy benefit manager, and then that would give us leverage to, first of all, it would be more administratively easy to and efficient to manage. Second of all, we would have more participation power to the market. We'd be able to go out and would be a full body instead of a portion of it. So we did that. Now, we're moving these people from high deductible health plan over to the PPO. We basically roughly transferred 1,057 belly buttons. So the fee for administrating the claims and everything else is what we're seeing. But it's a good thing.
Is there a deduction on the high deductible plan side?
We are no longer paying for the high deductible PBM because they're no longer, we're only paying for the 2 medical plans with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Did I not see the deduction on the schedule of contracts, the one that's going down?
So we moved from 2 RX vendors to 1.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's what was shared on the HR slide, I'll find it, where the cost for Express Scripts went up, and then we should probably had a line that zeroed out for,
Yes,
for Prime
absolutely.
Therapeutics. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh,
That was it for you guys.
okay.
Does anyone else
Does anyone
want
else
to
have
go with
questions
them?
for?
Ms. Chavez.
You mentioned regarding the, I believe what the Z card was regarding, or zero card regarding a certain geographical area.
Okay, so.
So can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes.
You mind if I take it? Zero card? Is it a zero card question? Yeah, so when with the zero card, if an employee wants to go and have a procedure done, it's cheaper if they go through zero card and they may go to another provider that offers that service at a cheaper cost. And that's with using the zero card. So if you see the zero card on the budget line increase, that's actually a good thing, as Tanel would say, because we're getting cheaper services. If you need an x-ray or a scan, instead of going through your traditional provider, if you go through a zero card provider, it's done at a reduced cost.
Did that address your question for
Yeah.
geographic? Okay.
Yeah, I have 2 things for 2 of you. So one anecdotal thing about the zero card. I have a friend who utilized this for physical therapy. So instead of just going to a regular random place, they looked at the zero card. Zero card said, go to this place. So it was about $12,000 that person would have paid out of pocket for copay, but with zero card and being an employee here, paid $0. So specific places to go, and then it's just free.
Thank you.
So that's great that people are utilizing that. I think Dr. Jarrett said maybe like a 70 or 73% utilization, something like that recently. Okay, maybe not, disregard.
Well, you've put me, I can't deny it.
Okay, I just had a quick question. I don't know necessarily who it's for, but for the UKG, it was in the technology budget, but it said it's for HR / in payroll. So, or insurance / yes. I was just confused as to why it was for payroll, but it's in the technology, timekeeping / payroll, sorry.
For IT, for technology?
I can answer that question. So the UKG platform is the software, and we've been the project managers working with the Human Resources Department as well as payroll to deploy that. So we're capturing the software agreement to be able to manage all the software that manages the punches and things like that, as well as the hardware time clocks that we have in the building. So that contract lives with us.
So because it's the physical software, it's in technology, but the information of timekeeping payroll is in human resources?
Human Resources and Finance, that's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. McCall?
I'm sorry, I don't have a question for HR. Are we moving to the next group then? Okay, so I just had a comment for, thank you guys. Okay. I had a comment for nutrition services. Just kudos, great job. I do let you know I talk with a lot of students and I haven't had much complaints about the food.
That's awesome.
So I just want to let you know the students are echoing and are appreciative of the changes that have been happening. through your department. So that's all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mrs. Bennett?
Mr. Carpenter had his light on first.
No, I
Mrs.
didn't.
Bennett?
I will happily go next. My question is regarding technology, so thank you very much for coming up, but mine's for technology.
Oh.
I did want to just comment, also kind of echoing on what Ms. McCall said about nutrition services, and thank you for all your work on that, and thank you for the work on getting, you said 4 years, 4 years more on
Yes.
free meals for the students. That's very, very important for our students, and it's something that I think we take for granted probably here at RPS. I have some dealings with students in other districts, and it's still just a challenge for a lot of people, even if they qualify for free or reduced lunches. It's still a challenge, and it's something that's really important for our students. So thank you for all your work on that.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Ms. Stafford?
Can we move on to operations?
Absolutely. Did anyone have any questions, any other questions for HR? Or nutrition services, or, okay, operation?
Okay, so I understood the increase in the supplies, 945,000 was between electricity and natural gas. Are our solar field panels not helping? I thought that was supposed to get us a reduction.
So they've really, 3 of our 4 have just been really producing just recently in April. So we don't have a lot of trend data, and we actually didn't include what that cost is going to be for that reduction yet, because we don't have those numbers quite yet. Auburn Solar Farm, that area over by McIntosh, that's not quite up and running yet. They're actually behind with that work. They actually had to identify another electrical contractor, so that site won't even be up probably until spring. Late spring, maybe early summer of 27. So we don't have those numbers in there yet. We do anticipate to see those reductions, but we just didn't have enough data to know what that looked like yet.
Okay. My next question is on the purchase services line, an increase of $1.1 million. And the only thing I caught as part of that is snow removal, which is up $348,000, and custodians, which is up $157,000. That's nowhere near $1.1 million. So I'm curious, what else makes up the purchase services increase?
Absolutely. So I can walk that through with you. So the other one, there's a $157,000 increase. Did you say the custodial? I'm sorry. Okay. $348,000 for the snow and ice removal. And then we have about a little over $400,000. That's our TEM, which is our asbestos abatement, as well as $321,000 for our fire service, alarm services, and fire extinguisher. Recall that moved from Fund 92, the health, life, safety, so we saw a reduction there, and that moved into our Fund 20 budget under operations. So that was the other $400-ish thousand. A couple other items of note, we did have an increase with Helm, which was $96,000, as well as our boiler and chiller maintenance and chemicals, which is $32,000 and $45,000. So that's about $1.1 million right there.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had for operations.
Anyone else have any questions?
My question's about technology.
Okay. Technology?
Okay, for the line-wise / Go Guardian conversation, so I understand we're keeping the self-harm, dangerous searches that students do. For Go Guardian, there was the ability to monitor student screens, close out student screens. Is that something that line-wise can also, am I saying it right? Yeah, line-wise is also able to do?
Yes. So yeah, it has all of those features. So we maintain feature parity also in the content monitoring, and it actually has some new features in there. One of the great ones that it has is it's called Content Aware, and it basically leverages AI image and text recognition as well as video recognition, and it'll dynamically block elements as they come. So even things that we haven't blocked or aren't blocked that the students have discovered, it will find those and then it'll block it out on the spot. So and there's other things that students were doing, like game sites and things like that. It's much better at blocking those than our Go Guardian implementation was.
Okay, great. And at some point, I'd love a 15-minute look at that if anybody would. Not today, clearly, but another time. I appreciate that.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. McCall, then Ms. Haley.
Thank you. Just wondering, how are you guys preparing, or if there have been any talk regarding I know it was just a couple of days ago, the passage of the cell phone ban? Like, is there any type of technology increases or costs that you guys could foresee coming with this? Like, I know are you going to purchase those little cell phone lockers? Like, what technology, or Ms. Lawrence, if you can address that for me. Thank you.
Sure, I can't speak to what IT might or might not want to purchase. However, because we have a cell phone policy that includes a ban, we do not have to implement anything new until the 2030-2031 school year, right? So we will obviously update annually and make those changes with our student parent code of conduct advisory, which one revision with the state with that ban was to include REA, the teachers union, in that. We already do that, but we're going to make a concerted effort to try to invoke more participation in that from them. So we'll just have to work with our schools to determine if they anticipate, needing those pouches and things like that, or how we're going to implement the ban. So we could see some increases that would probably most likely come from a school budget.
Okay, so you're saying that those, whatever potential increases will come from the school budget itself, from the principal's budget or whatever, instead of the IT department? Is that what you're stating?
I think that would be the conversation. Right now, it comes from the school budget. So if the schools purchase pouches, it comes from their budget.
If there's a technology component, there's a possibility that will fall on our budget as well. But we are aware of many different avenues to be able to secure that cell phone. Again, you mentioned some of the cell phone lockers that are out there, or just the pouches. And I think we'll really determine what that looks like once we get some feedback from the buildings on how we secure those devices.
Okay, and I just want to put it out there. The schools' budgets are already tight. You guys just presented that you had significant decreases in things from moving things around. So maybe potentially thinking about absorbing technology or IT, absorbing those costs instead of having it directly come from the individual schools, and maybe have some type of uniformity in it. So that way, as a student is matriculating through the schools from, elementary, middle, high school, that there's super consistency and there's no way they can get around it or that. So just putting it out there for you guys to kind of ponder on for a bit, but thank you.
Ms. Haley.
So to Ms. McCall's point regarding the new law that just passed, last year we had a Kishwaukee division meeting at St. Charles school in St. Charles, Illinois, and they provided a very comprehensive, very detailed presentation on how they did their school plan. So that's just to offer up someone to get advice from, or a district to get advice from. They did involve the parents, the students, and the staff at the schools to get everybody on the same page, so there wasn't a whole lot of pushback. So that's just, conversation for later, of course. But my question regarding the technology is the Halo vape software. Is that, I know we talked about that before, this is gonna be our first time utilizing a vape software? Or have we had one in place before?
We actually had it in place last year. We were able to get some trial pilot licenses when we rolled out our vape systems in our high school bathrooms, high school and middle school bathrooms. So this will be the first year we're actually paying for that software going forward.
Ms. Bennett?
My question's about security. Ms. Stanford, is yours about technology?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
The salary decrease in technology services of $471,000, you said that you let people go. How many people did we let go?
Matt, do you want to cover the count, and then I'll walk through it?
Yeah, so that is 6 positions. 2 of them were telecommunications positions, 2 of them were network positions, and 2 of them were database software positions.
So who's going to do that work?
So I'm happy to explain that. So on a few of those positions, our network security and our network administrator role, we did actually create a new position called a network security engineer that consolidated that. We found an individual through our recruitment effort that actually can cover quite a bit of those roles. We did do a little bit of elevated role for that and is able to pick up that with no issue whatsoever. Something that we've done this year that we haven't taken advantage of because of our E-rate funding that we get from the federal government. We actually went from $4.6 million to $5.6 million in that 5-year cycle because of the per pupil costs going from $167 a student to $203 a student. We're able to use what's called managed services. It's called MIBS is what they call it with E-rate. So we're able to actually utilize a contract that's covered at 85% by E-rate funds to be able to outsource a lot of our network work. So instead of having 1 or 2 individuals doing our day-to-day network operations, we're actually able to leverage 10 to 15 Cisco certified staff that are available 24/7, 365, monitoring our systems remotely, and when needed, we can bring them on site. The company that we did pull through on that is just in the suburbs of Chicago, so we can have an individual on site when we actually need them here. So it's really, really great program for us, and because of the additional E-rate dollars, we're able to absorb that cost, and we're only spending out of our district budget, our commitment's $92,000 this year.
Nice, okay. There was a decrease of $220,000 because NWEA MAP is being replaced by STAR, but I did not see a charge increase for STAR.
That's going to be in the school's budget.
So it's no longer going to be in IT.
Right. It was in IT before. STAR has been in the school's budget for the last 2 years, and we just simply are not utilizing NWEA anymore. It's been a complete shift over to the STAR platform, and that's covered in the school's budget that you see coming forward.
Okay. My last question is $100,000 budgeted for a strategic plan. For a district that is in a pinch financially, this seems a little extravagant to me. I don't know how other board members feel about it. And I've never been involved in this process, so honestly, I really don't know what to expect, but it seems like a lot of dollars to me. Can somebody explain to me what we're going to get for $100,000?
It's a budget placeholder. When you look at the community engagement required to do a community-based strategic plan, which is what at least preliminary discussions with the board covered, it's very similar in scope to some of the things we did with the superintendent search. So you can do a strategic plan and just tell the staff to have a retreat and work with the board, and we could save that money. The downside to doing that is, I think the risk is that if we roll the strategic plan out without a lot of community input, we would be potentially risking losing some of the valuable things we learned from Dr. Huff's 90-day onboarding plan, and B, subject ourselves to criticism for not having casting a wide enough net with some of the pre-work. One thing I want to be clear of is that is a placeholder, and the board will be approving whatever that is. So this is a not to exceed number.
Right.
My suspicion is that in partnership with the board, there will be a pretty significant opportunity to talk about a range of options, and the board will decide at that point what makes the most sense. So I think that is a not to exceed approach as opposed to a target we are aiming to hit to spend it. Our hope would be that we could get through with a much cheaper option, but I also want to prepare the board that the market out there for these types of community-based plans can be very labor intensive and very expensive.
Okay, I'll accept that for now. Thank you.
Mrs. McCall, Ms. Haley, you have a question for?
It's security.
Okay, and your?
Technology.
Okay, so since we're
still on technology, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have a question for technology.
Okay, that's what I was about to say before you interrupted me.
Regarding the vape vape detection, and you said that you guys were having some trials with it, and this will be the first full rollout of it, correct?
Yes, we did have a full year of that trial, but this will be the first year they're actually paying.
Okay, I'm sorry that we're paying. Is there any, could you guys give us the data on positives, negatives of what this is? Like, are you guys monitoring those things so we know if this has been a good system that's been in place? Like, is it actually working over the course of the year? Have we found good, bad, the ugly, before we're paying for it? And we're going to start paying for it this year. And how many years are we in the contract for with it?
It's a year to year right now. They go off all the time, as you can imagine. We do have statistics on that, and actually earlier in the year, during one of our leadership summits here at the admin building, we shared some of those stats initially as we went through some of the ID and security pieces. So we're happy to share the data on those. I don't know if Ms. Lawrence wants to share anything from a disciplinary perspective or student services perspective.
It is definitely a deterrent.
Okay, so
we can add that to the statistics.
Yeah, that's what I just want to get at. Like, what it is. Are the students aware of it happening and aware of it that if they vape somewhere that it could be detected, and then followed by what the infractions were, per se. If an alarm went off, so I'm in the bathroom or something, and it's a vape and it goes off, what happens?
The administration is alerted, and they will find that student, and they will conduct a search on that student. An investigation would begin, which may include a search. So it's an immediate identification of a situation in a bathroom. That it also includes noise. We've caught quite a few fights that have happened in the bathroom that were confirmed through video. Students taking video in those bathrooms that were never reported, that we caught through the Halo system.
One of the other pieces of that too, what we've been able to gather in the software is some of the high vaping areas. So we'll have more administration and staff just hanging around specific bathrooms to help also deter. So that's also been a benefit to be able to capture this as well.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Haley.
So my question is about security, if we can move. Okay. So I see that we are getting rid of Securitex, $2 million. Do we have any other support in the schools for security other than SROs?
Yeah, I'm just finding that 1 second. I apologize. Oh, no, we're not getting rid of that. There's just no variance for next year, so it's a $3 million.
Oh, okay, yep. Okay, gotcha.
Ms. Bennett and then Ms. McCall.
I have just a follow-up from what Ms. McCall's question was, and then I have a security question. But anecdotally, over the past 3 years, I consistently received feedback about the smell of marijuana, students vaping, students reaching out to me, families. And this past school year, it's significantly decreased. I've received maybe 1 or 2 concerns, but the previous years, it was much, much greater. So for whatever that's worth for statistics. For the Evolve system, I thought 2 years ago, we talked about monitoring their effectiveness and, kind of any data that came from them, and a potential conversation about expanding them potentially to middle schools or other schools. Is that a conversation that we will have at some time? Are we just going to keep them at the high schools, or what's the plan for them?
So first of all, I say they've been highly effective in our high schools. I think it's really a budgetary thing at this point to discuss. And then also we've had mixed feedback at the middle school level on whether or not we think that will be something that we can retrofit there for the use there. But it's something we've discussed. I will say, obviously, it would be a significant budget increase. As we look, we've only got 18 systems in our high schools right now, and we're paying that a significant cost there, where we're talking about many more middle school buildings and many more doors that we would have to look at. So I think budget will probably dictate on there, and we'd have to look at where we want to allocate our resources, obviously with board input as well.
I would be interested in seeing what the cost is. Like if that's something that principals were surveyed on and they provided feedback on interest, for example, say if there's ones that are interested versus ones that are not, and also what the cost would be then broken down by however many entrances make sense for which one students enter or whatever that would be. I just think given increased safety concerns year over year, to ensure student safety is really important to me. So I understand it would be a large cost, but if we have to compare things and prioritize them, I just want to know what the amount would be. So thank you.
Ms. McCall?
Thank you. So back on the slide, I don't know. Oh, no, it's right there. For the police support, I see that it went down $300,000. Was that in reduction of officers, or was that just some kind of deal you guys struck? Like, because of the reduction, is there any services that has been reduced?
No, we still have the same level of service and the number of officers with 10 SROs. When Dr. Brown and I, as well as legal, started discussing this with the city, we kind of let them know that where we were at from budgetary, and they really came to the table. They did some different work on how they calculate their costs, specifically with like their vehicle and equipment costs that were included in that major cost. So I'm just very grateful that they were able to work with us and be able to reduce that for the next 2 years.
Okay, thank you. So there's no reduction in services or support. So I just wanted to make sure that was, said for the sake of public knowledge or whatever, that yes, the price did decrease, and then just you explaining it just shows more of the value of the partnership with us in the city of Rockford. So thank you.
There's actually a little more to it than that.
There it goes. Let me hear it.
Yeah. So you can recall last year when we were working on the contract, they were trying to build some additional positions in there, and we never did fill those positions, but we had them in the budget last year. We cut those from the budget this year because we weren't adding them in. And so that's primarily the reduction right there. So I just want to make sure that point wasn't lost too.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. Dr. Brown will now address the update on facility master plan.
Okay, so there's a lot that's actually happened since the vote back in April when the sales tax did not go through. And so we're at a point now where we've really got to make some decisions on what we want to do. And so you saw on the right up there, we still really have 4 options we can pursue, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about something that you guys probably should consider as well as a 5th option that's really kind of popped up in the last 3 weeks or so. So the options, again, as we've talked about before, traditional referendum that would require getting on the ballot in November if we wanted to do something, yet this year. Trying to run the sales tax referendum again, that would also be a November issue. We can still have some room to borrow on the debt service extension base, and then you can kind of do a combination of all of the above. So as far as traditional referendum would go, if that's something that we wanted to pursue, we would have to have board approval to do that at the July meeting. So there's not a lot of time to decide whether the board wants to try for a regular traditional referendum. Sales tax would be on that same timeline. I don't recommend doing anything with option 2 on the sales tax, and here's why. So we have had discussions with the countywide superintendent group, and their feeling was that they really needed to craft a universal message with all the school districts in the entire county and then bring that publicly forward. They think that a process like that to kind of build that momentum across all the school districts would take roughly 6 to 9 months. And then they'd feel comfortable, really launching a campaign that would be ready in the spring of 2028. So, using the next 6 to 9 months to come up with some kind of a universal message, being able to then run with that universal message, all through the fall and into the spring of 2028, and then actually go for another sales tax try in 2028. So we do have the ability to put the sales tax referendum on by ourselves because we represent more than 50% of the students in the county, but that's not something that I would recommend. As far as the debt service extension base, we can probably borrow, another $40 to $50 million there. Again, that's really more like a stopgap type thing because we still have to do some kind of a traditional referendum at some point to raise the rest of the money that we need. So I want to talk a little bit about, maybe, another option, which would be to finish up the projects that we've started for year 1 and year 2, and then actually hit pause on the facility master plan work. And the reason that I think that it might be important to hit pause on that is Dr. Huff's going to be coming in new. He's going to start laying out his vision. There's still a lot of work that you guys will remember that we were working on with boundary work and whether we were going to reconfigure maybe for some K-8 buildings and some things like that. Some of the facility master plan work that was created 3 years ago might not necessarily be the right thing to put in place until the boundary work actually gets done and we know whether we're going to do some grade reconfigurations. The worst thing we could do is continue with a 5-year facility master plan that doesn't maybe line up with the new vision. So I guess what I'm asking you guys to consider too would be, number 1, the traditional referendum, because I think that's the best bet if you want to raise money. Number 2 would be to hit pause. Let us finish up the projects that we're working on right now. There should be enough money with the bonds that we just sold to complete the projects that we have underway right now, and then just hit pause for a year so we can really see what the boundary work and what, kind of the vision would be for potentially going with K-8s or doing some other modifications to buildings. So that would be my real recommendation here. So you don't have to make a decision tonight, obviously. Just know that if you do want to do a traditional referendum for November, you're going to have to approve it at the July board meeting. You don't have a choice on that one. The August board meeting comes after the last date to approve something to put it on, for the November referendum. So time would be short to try and pass something again in November, just so you guys know. We're kind of on that same timeline we were on last time around when we passed it in, November, December, and then had to turn around and go for a vote in April. So just something to think about. Again, this will get talked about at the July committee, the whole meeting. And then at that point, you guys will really need to kind of have some ideas firmed up. But I think, based on work that Jason and I have been doing with the construction team, the work that he started back up with the boundary stuff with Dr. Huff right now, it just seems to me to make a lot of sense to maybe hit the pause button right now. So that would be another thing that I think that you guys should really strongly consider. Not abandoning the plan, just hitting pause. So questions on this?
Ms. McCall?
Thank you. Just for clarification, so when we're hitting pause, how would decisions be made on what items to pause? Like, is there a plan on what needs to be completed that could not wait until the boundary work? Like, how will all that stuff be determined? Just please elaborate for the sake of the community.
Sure. That's a great question. And so there's nothing in the facility master plan that we would consider to be like eminent that has to absolutely be done. So the things that were really the priority items were all in the year 1, year 2 type stuff. And as you guys will recall, some things that were out there in year 3 and year 4 actually got moved up into year 1 and year 2 to really get them moving because we did have some issues. The things that are out there now are more like upgrades, modernization, things like that. There's not stuff that's really emergent that would absolutely have to be done. And I would say, the stuff that's out there in year 3, year 4, and year 5, you just kind of just say, hold on all those projects. Unless there was something out there that popped that we really need to move on, then I think there's the ability to actually, make that work and move it on that project. But there was nothing that was eminent that was in those year 3, 4, and 5 projects.
Okay, so you're saying there's nothing that would be, that pausing would be detrimental to, like it wouldn't create more issues down the line?
I don't believe so. And if it was, when we sold the last bonds, we set aside almost $3 million worth of health, life, safety money to be able to tackle something that could pop up that would be a health, life, safety issue that we would immediately have to do. And so I think we do have dollars available for that as well.
And thank you. And with your recommendation as far as not to go at the referendum alone, could you elaborate more on why you're hesitant about that? Is it strictly because of the timing, or do you think that it's something that we couldn't carry as a question as a district by ourselves?
Yeah.
So just elaborate a little bit more. Sorry.
Sure. So traditional referendum, I would say if you want to go for that, you can go for that. That's just us as a district. It doesn't affect any of the other school districts. If you're talking about the sales tax, it affects everybody. And so I would think that would not be wise for us to do that and go that alone unless all the other school districts were on board for trying to do that. So I just think that would set us up probably for failure if all the other districts did decide they wanted to go for it in April. I think as I've kind of watched these throughout the years, once they pass this legislation, you really kind of get 2 tries at it, and that's really about it. And a lot of times it doesn't pass on the first one, but if you can do a good enough job on the second one, it'll usually pass. Once you fail for 2 times, there's been some districts that have tried to run it 3 and 4 times, and they might as well just forget it. It's never going to pass. So
I had a conversation with the regional superintendents at the last regional office meeting, and very strong consensus in the room. And again, to be clear, as Dr. Brown has pointed out, and I've told you multiple times, Rockford can unilaterally run a sales tax referendum. You have more than 50% of the students. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can do it. What we all collectively agreed upon this time in our unsuccessful attempt was we felt it was important that we had commitments and board resolutions from the majority, and I think we set the target at 90% and got there, and still were unsuccessful because we had a very short timeline. When I led a conversation about this with the superintendents about a month ago in Winnebago County, there is strong consensus that we should run another campaign, but there was equally strong consensus that with Dr. Huff coming in brand new to the superintendency, to saddle him with a referendum as a superintendent, as you all are trying to work together for the first time in the first 3 months. Remember, this would be November, so we would have to get that on the ballot next month in basically his first board meetings. So there's a Rockford and a Dr. Huff piece of this, but candidly, I really went around the room and said, all right, well, who's committed to getting board? What we heard from the community was, you need to pass not just board resolutions that say, hey, we want sales tax, but what are you willing to specifically do for tax relief so that people know it is actually going to save them money on their property taxes? And what projects are you actually going to do with the money? So what are we going to get? And then a third piece, which is a little harder to deal with, I don't know how we can check this box, but when the community groups that we met with would prefer some type of a sunset provision, which I don't know if that's even legal or possible to do with this. So if you're not going to have a sunset provision where the voters can get rid of this after 5 years because you're going to sell bonds with the money, then boy, you better nail it with, we better collectively be successful with number 1 and number 2, which is real clear by community. Hey, in Winnebago, what is their sales tax reduction going to be, and what projects are they going to do? In Roscoe, in the Kinnickinnick School District, what are they going to do? What is Harlem going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And so they are very committed in that room, and I think most of the folks will still be there for the next few years. Targeting the March of 2028, but not waiting 2 years to get started, but to actually start those conversations with our communities now, so we can have more community input and forums about what the plans would be, what the right mix of tax savings should be. So that's really the context behind this. Is Dr. Brown and I both feel we'll probably get almost the same exact result that we got. Now, what's encouraging is we lost 60-40. And we didn't run a very good campaign, I don't think. I mean, candidly, we didn't answer those key questions because we just didn't have time. And we were busy, as you may recall, during the time that rolled up, because we had a lot of other things going on in our community and our school district specifically. That was true of the others as well. So giving ourselves almost 2 years, but starting now was the recommendation of the superintendents. Again, you can absolutely, as RPS, say, we still want to go in November, and none of that would matter, but I think the likelihood of that passing would be pretty low. Because I don't know what would be the only thing that would be different is you'd probably have less commitment from the other local communities to do that. So that was the mindset behind that. So sorry to go on and on, but I did want to give you that additional context.
Thank you.
Mr. Carpenter, then Ms. Bennett, then Ms. Haley, and Ms. June. In that order, please.
Thank you. All right, so on option one with the traditional property tax referendum, the possibility is that we would be able to run that by with a commitment that there would not be a property tax increase. Is that correct?
With the bond and the interest rate would not change. Bond and interest tax levy would not change.
Is that something that we can get, can you tell us that as a fact?
I will have that shortly. I tried to get something from Stiefel for this meeting, and it's honestly, it's challenging to make that work based on what we need to borrow to complete the plan.
Okay, thank you.
So we're still working on it. I think it can still be done, but we're having to really play around with it.
All right, second. And then second on kind of what Ms. McCall was asking is, can you tell us what projects would be paused, I guess?
Sure. We can give you a list of everything for year 3,
and what would be
year 4,
paused.
Year 5. Yep, we've got them all scheduled out already.
Okay, great, thanks. So, and you can get that for the committee of the whole in July.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, my question's regarding the boundary work. Do you know when we could expect to receive any information, recommendations, thoughts regarding the boundary work?
I'm going to punt that one to Jason.
So we've already met the allocations team, which I'm working with Ellen and Kathy Ellis on, have met initially with Dr. Huff and Dr. Jarrett as kind of a transition. So the first cut at it we're looking at for next summer is really some isolated areas where we can focus on with some of our special ed movement and our bilingual, and where we're doing some placement of that in buildings and utilizing some available spaces in some of our buildings. We actually had a meeting today with Ms. Lawrence and Ms. Schrader as well on that. And then, so we just got some questions answered today, and we're actually putting together an amended option 1 is what we're calling it for this. So we'll start to see some of that probably as early as early July on what that option looks like to move forward. And then in our meeting with Dr. Huff, we started having conversations on what a further boundary work would look like if we did go forward with something like a K-8 option. So those are still on the table. We haven't fully developed those, but we do have some options that we started to look at with that as well. So I would say we'll start to see some options for the board to respond to early in FY27.
Okay, so the options that you would present to us, say regarding special ed, would those take effect this current school year, or those would be for the 27-28 school year?
It would be for the 27-28 school year.
Okay, and same thing for anything to do regarding K-8 schools or movement would be the 27-28 school year?
Or later.
Okay, would that be, that's my last question about this, I'm sorry. The K through 8 schools, would that be addressing wait lists at home schools and things like that? Is that in there?
That's certainly part of it. And then I don't know if Dr. Jarrett, do you want to touch anything on some of the instructional piece?
Again, I think there's a couple things that change the timeline in this. So I think all the board would really be able to contemplate for the 27-28 school year with where we've left the work would be doing modifications to make sure that special education and multilingual students are more strategically placed. A lot of what we deal with student placement tends to be based on where we have space and where we have room. And that was the initial purpose of this. And I do think we will have good recommendations in place for that. I think with the transition, when I made the decision to resign and we were waiting on a new superintendent coming on, I felt it would be basically unethical and inappropriate to push a bunch of stuff through on a fast timeline before A, the new superintendent, Dr. Huff, starts, but B, also I think it's really important that there's some community conversation needed about structural changes like that should take time, that shouldn't be, that really need to be connected probably to the larger strategic planning process that you're going to be engaging in. So the sequence of a strategic plan and then a more fulsome facilities plan would make sense as a product out of that. That also gives you time to line up the referendum. So my advice to the board as I'm heading out here is I would really focus on Jason and the team will bring forward, along with Dr. Huff, some short-term options to be more strategic with where we put our special education students, our multilingual students. We have some imbalanced borders that maybe we could make some tweaks to, but not making any dramatic changes to the footprint until we've had substantial community conversation on the front end. To make sure that we give that time. So I think just making some of those, the initial plan that Jason talked about, just making a few minor changes would be plenty for 27, 28. And that the strategic plan in the spring of 2027 could launch us into a facilities task force where you could really tackle the big topics like, hey, we have waiting lists on some of our schools. Hey, we haven't built a school in certain parts of our community where we have shortage areas. You know, do we have our schools in the right places? You know, there's bigger picture topics that you would talk about that with a potential sales tax, you'd have resources to address in a way that could be cost effective because you wouldn't be having the same interest costs of selling bonds, et cetera. So a lot of moving parts. So I think what we're going to try, our advice to the board is going to be is lock in on a short-term solution for 27, 28 for some quick, some short-term fixes, and then have a more strategic long-term conversation in partnership with Dr. Huff moving forward. As far as the selling bonds option, you know, we'll come back to you potentially a little bit the next meeting, but certainly next month. And by we, I won't be there, but the idea will be that we'll give you much more detail on what each plan would mean so that you have time to make a decision by July. I think our lean is to, assuming we feel ethically we can pause, it probably would make sense to buy some time to have more community conversations before we keep going.
Okay, so just my last clarifying question. So if we were to do a pause, the pause period, the strategic planning period, and the boundary period would all be, in theory, done at the same time to be able to resume and make decisions on them all, in theory, at the same time?
Yeah, I can probably write something up in a board update and walk you through kind of the sequence of things that could happen. Because I know it's we're talking about a lot of different things that are swirling around. So why don't I put that in writing and walk through sort of A, B, C in terms of the events that could create the community consensus we would need to make sure we're doing what the community most thinks is strategically valuable for our footprint planning. The status quo is not on fire, particularly if we make some short-term fixes. But I think there's some really cool strategic opportunities that you and Dr. Huff and the community can talk about.
And then you want to make sure you're lining up the dollars with that vision, rather than just going ahead and keep spending kind of on something that was created 3 years ago that made sense then. And then if something shifts, the worst thing you could do is make investments in the building, then come back a year from now and say, ooh, gosh, we really shouldn't have done that because now we really need to do X, Y, and Z. And, you know, we put these other improvements in place and maybe that wasn't the best solution. So, you know, sometimes it's okay to tap the brakes.
Ms. Haley.
So my question was already answered. I was just curious about which projects would be affected by the pause, and you answered that. Thank you.
Ms. Stanford.
So my question is, if we do pause, would we still have to choose one of the options in order to pay for year 1 and year 2? Or are those covered already?
We're good on year 1 and year 2.
Okay, so if we do the pause, we don't have to
Yeah.
we don't have to do anything.
Yeah. It looks like right now the way we're projecting now. Now, I will tell you that some of the costs have come in and some of the projects got accelerated into year 1 and year 2 that weren't anticipated there. It might get a little tight, you know, a year from now, but we would know that, you know, by October, November, probably, whether we were going to come out short. Based on the way we've got everything penciled out right now with the cash that we have available from the bond sales, we should be able to complete the projects that we're working on right now.
Okay, that was my question.
Yep.
So Dr. Brown, first of all, that is a very wise recommendation. Everyone know I had reservations with the master's facility plan and the cost, among other things, and there's no need to elaborate on that. But I think that it is very wise, and it's not uncommon because the previous master's facility plan, there were some things that could not get accomplished. And so I think that that was very wise that we focus on year one and year two, and it would be helpful to have that the rest of the plan built out. Also, when there is a boundary change in play, making decisions prior to a boundary change that could ultimately, but potentially or possibly create or cause a negative impact is never good. So that is also wise. We did that, not that the IB school is, won't be good for our community or anything, but there were some things that was kind of backwards with that decision. So to see this recommendation and to pause and keeping Dr. Huff in mind as he lay out his vision was very wise. So we certainly appreciate that. And I look forward to getting the additional information on what that pause will look like. Anyone have any additional questions or comments? Thank you. So this will return to June board for further discussion in July board meeting for action. C, middle school students are demonstrating inconsistent literacy performance and teachers lack a coherent Tier 1 ELA resource that aligns standards, support differentiation, and delivers actionable data. Adopting a comprehensive research-based curriculum, think CERCA, ELA 6 to 8, would strengthen reading and writing outcomes, improve instructional consistency, and better support diverse learners through integrated assessment and scaffold. This 3-year investment is expected to drive measurable gains in student achievement, increase teacher efficiency, and align with district continuous improvement goals. Are there any questions regarding the new secondary resource, think SERSA? This will return to board to vote on June 16th. Item D, new math literacy intervention package FY7. The administration is proposing a district-wide research-based K-5 literacy and math intervention framework to address significant gaps in student proficiency and eliminate inconsistencies in intervention practices across schools. This plan establishes a unified menu of aligned evidence-based resource to strengthen foundational skills, improve equity of support, and enhance MTSS implementation. The package includes the following solution for literacy: 95% group, Institute for Multi-Sensory Education, and Esperance. The package also includes the following solution for math: Spring Math and Zanner Blosser Kickstart. The investment is expected to drive stronger early outcome, improve instructional coherence, and reduce the need for more intensive interventions in later grades. Are there any questions regarding the new math and literacy intervention package? This will return to board for a vote on June 16th. preview consent items, A, flow analytic contract, change order FY 26, master service agreement for architectural services renewal. Any questions or comments regarding the preview consent items? I do have a question in regards to maintaining the architects and not having an RFQ. That was in, one moment. Yes. B. Mr. Bartel, you want to address that?
Sure, I absolutely can. So, as you know, we went to RFQ it was June of 23 for architects, and that set our qualifications and our requirements for the work that we needed to be done at RPS 205. I think there were 6 back at that point that were approved that met those requirements, and we had a couple that have not performed successfully. So there are 4 that we'd like to continue that work with because they do meet our qualifications. They've done some very good work for us, but we also don't want to ignore if there are opportunities to onboard new architects to do work. We do have that opportunity to do so, and we would just do an MOU to this master services agreement for any new architects that had interest in joining our pool of architects to do that work based on the RFQ that was created, and they're aligned with that criteria for the district.
So have there been any interest or for any additional architect?
We haven't at this time. We're primarily using relatively local architects. We haven't had anybody reach out. And when we look at people doing that work, we want to favor local just because they'll be on site doing a lot of work here as well. But we're open for anybody that would be interested, if they're suburbs or something. But we haven't had any interest that has come across our plate at this point.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no other questions, that completes the report for Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 8A, which is Governance Committee Review of Board Policies, Series 600. Are there any questions on the review of Board Policy Series 600? If you haven't had a chance, this is our periodic review of our policies, and this is on the instruction section of the policies. So if you haven't had a chance to review those, please do so and ask any questions before the meeting in 2 weeks. Moving on to item 9, which is a preview of consent items for governance, which is just the standard meeting minutes, closed session minutes, and freedom of information log that we'll get before the meeting next time. So I assume there's no questions on those. Seeing none. Moving on to item 10, petitions and communications. There are no public speakers signed up, so we'll be moving on to number 11, which is adjournment. I would take a motion and a second to adjourn.
Hold on. I have a question or a statement before you adjourn. One is, can we give thought to how we are going to address our deceased students? It was earlier I made an oversight and not, recognizing the other schools, but we also had some students that passed that we did not have silence for, and some that we did. So if we could kind of standardize that, because that's a sensitive time for families, and we never want to send a message that we view one more significant than another. So if we could come up with some standardization on how we're going to do that, if we're going to call their names at the end of the school year, or each time there is death for whatever reason, that we pause and give, silence to that.
I think that's definitely a conversation to have with Dr. Huff for the next school year.
Absolutely. Well, that is something that we as a board, or board members, decided to do. We can definitely include them. Like, we would call it or request a moment of silence.
I guess I should ask, I was thinking you were referring to at graduation, but maybe you were referring to during the school year at board meetings.
No, during the school year, there's times that we pause for silence, and then there's times that we didn't. And I just want to make sure that we have some standardization so we don't,
we can
miss
discuss that.
families on that.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
I did, in regards to the committees. It's that season that we, and typically there was, and I understand, let me say this, that the board president can make the decision not to make any changes in committees. But historically, every year, and the discussion came up some time ago, and I think it's worth hearing from other board members on how we should do that. One, I think it is beneficial that board members have that experience to serve on different board meetings, and it is there's opportunity for relationship building. Some of us have never worked directly with each other, and that would be an excellent opportunity to build those working relationships. And if you have someone that is willing, they may be married to it right now, or really like it, but is willing to switch, then we should give consideration to that. I'm asking the board president to give consideration to that. Other than the fact that the board president can make a decision not to change committee, what other reason would we have not to?
First of all, I think that the committees should be consistent, like for the 2-year term. It should be from when after the school board elections in the spring of the odd number years, get on a committee, serve that for 2 years, and then after 2 years, you can switch, or we can rearrange them. To me, that would make the most sense. I think it takes 2 years to get, or I think it takes more than a year to get up to speed on certain committees, and I think that just being on it for a year, or I think that that's a reason. And I think that switching them every year I think it's unnecessary and it's confusing. So that's why I would say that's the other reason why.
I find that interesting because I heard from half the board when I was board president. So it definitely takes longer than a year as a board member in general with, all the things, the responsibility of a board, but with the committee, we have changes in staff liaisons, and so that's just a thought, and I think it's worth a discussion, and it's worth checking into, individuals that be willing to change.
And I have had discussions with all the board members about that.
You have had?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. Ms. McCall?
Wait a minute. I didn't have that discussion with you.
I asked if anyone wanted to change. You said you would like to change. Ms. McCall said she would like to change. No one else wanted to change. You two are on the same committee, so switching with each other wouldn't do any good. So that's the discussion. Ms. McCall?
Thank you. I wholeheartedly think that we need to have some type of policy regarding board leadership and committee participation as well. I've been on this board since 2022. I've seen a lot of things, that has been very inconsistent. You have some presidents that only serve 1 year term, and we have another president that's only had, that's on their second term as being a president. And that's just inconsistent. So if we're able to switch everything around annually when we switch presidents and we have that vote up for a president, I think it should be open as well as for committee changes as well. It needs to be some type of a policy, because it seems like every board president makes up their own mind, and it hasn't been any consistency. That was my first thought. The second thing was, yeah, just making sure we have some kind of consistency in policy. I don't think that it's fair that we have people that has been on the board for several terms, have had the same committees for the duration of the different terms. The whole point of, when you come into, this is a volunteer type of a position, even though we're elected, you want to make the most of it and try to learn all facets of the school board as a whole anyway. We're not on here to, well, I guess some of us, we're not on here to, build resumes and to use these as platforms to go to different boards and different other opportunities and things. So we just want to make sure for people who are generally interested in learning every different part of how the school board operations work, then we should be afforded those opportunities. And that's just my thought.
I don't think any presidents have served only 1 year, but I understand your point. Ms. Pearson served 2 years.
I served 2 years.
Ms. Bennett.
So thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Okay, I had one follow-up about Ms. Pearson regarding how we acknowledge student deaths, and just a point of note, or whatever you want to call it, just making sure that we talk with caregivers and families, parents. I know there have been some students that have passed that families did not want us to acknowledge, and they were explicit in that. So I think just making sure, if we as board members are going to acknowledge a student, that obviously we received, parent approval to do that. And then also thinking, I know, for example, Ms. Pearson, you just brought up, like, if we read students' names at the end of the year, just to make sure that families have consented for us to include that student. And I know at graduation there was one student in particular, they had made a whole space for, obviously with family acknowledgement, which is, very lovely for them to have done that. And then my second question is for Dr. Jarrett regarding, since we're talking about the committee structure, it's my understanding that the liaisons are appointed by superintendent from cabinet members. So into next month, for example, Dr. Huff would be appointing liaisons for the corresponding committees. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Huff and I will have that conversation as part of we're meeting really regularly, and we'll discuss that. But very typically under my leadership, it's been sort of tied to job title, but as we know, we've made some structural changes in the way we'll have a smaller cabinet moving forward with our budget cuts and things like that. So I think that'll be appropriate for Dr. Huff, both as the new superintendent, but also because the cabinet looks a little different in terms of size and who and roles. Some things will stay the same, more than likely, logically, but he may decide to make some changes in terms of staff members' roles as staff liaisons.
Thank you.
Ms. McCall.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind the board that before every meeting we have a moment of silence, so that could capture many of the people that we wanted to mention. I know sometimes, I've done it myself, I've mentioned people that I have, or students that have passed away that I have had direct contact with during my board member comments. I don't think that should be looked up on if school board members talk about students that they've had interactions with as leaving other students out. So I just wanted to make a reminder that every meeting we have a moment of silence. So whether we say names or not, and if we do decide to say names and things, I believe that should be something that should be in the stakeholders presentation, because that's where you have your recognitions and celebrations. So just throw that out there if it is something, but just keep in mind that we have a moment of silence every time, and it's up to each board member what they use during their board member reflections. So if at that point some board member would like to reflect on the life of a student that they have had interactions with that passed on, I don't think that it should be frowned upon if they don't say, oh yeah, and the other students as well, because to me that will be inauthentic. So the other students that passed as well, I would myself feel like that's what I'm reflecting on during our moment of silence that we have before each meeting. So thank you.
I understand that point. I guess I just think that sometimes if a student passes and that one student is commented on, then it seems like the other student is not as valued, and I think that all the students are valued by the board. So that's why I think that consistency with that is important. Ms. Pearson.
Yes, so Dr. Jarrett has served as school superintendent for over a decade, and I believe we're coming to an end, if not, and I just wanted to pause to say thank you for your many years of service and the financial support that you have given to Rockford Promise, your own personal sacrifice, for lack of a better word, and out of concern and desire for higher education for our students. So I want to thank you for the work. A wise man once said that many times we agree more than we disagree. Unfortunately, sometimes we focus on what we disagree on too much, and we don't pause to appreciate what we do agree on. So I don't want you to leave without me saying thank you for your years of service. And one thing about team building is you don't always agree on everything, but you never lose sight of our goal, which is our academic success of our scholars. So thank you once again. I bid you Godspeed on your next position, and you never know, you may see our faces there one day. So blessings to you.
Thank you for those kind words, Ms. Pearson. I think the sentiment is appreciated, or I think we all share the sentiment. All right. Motion and second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.